Chapter 101. Encountering the succubus again means that the islands that we encountered before but did not explore can be encountered again. And the prompt is still the same, which means that even with such large development, the island still cannot pose a threat to the succubus. I was still sucked dry when I went up. The fundamental reason might be that my attributes did not improve much. Zhou Tu thought about opening the chat channel to see if anyone had encountered a succubus, or had heard similar comments. What the hell did I encounter? I felt like I was in a fantasy world. It was so cool. I was going to die. Are there any popular bars in Sky World? They look so good, and these people really suit my tastes. This is so weird, how come these people have the same thoughts as me? Zhou Tu clicked on the avatars of these people and found that most of those who were talking were dead, but there were still some survivors. The levels of these people generally do not exceed level 20. It seems that other people have been to Succubus Island, suffered from the succubus's charm, and survived. You may not die if you go to the Succubus Island, but there is a high probability that you will die. In fact, the ability to see through information is also a hint. It sucks me dry, but it doesn't mean that I will die. But what attributes does death have to do with? Zhou Tu opened his property panel. Island owner, Zhou Tu strength, 7.3 endurance, 6.4 agility, 6.2 attractiveness, 8.01 observation, 10.1 The properties have increased, but the increase is very small. This is normal. We have only been on the island for a few days, so this increase is already good. The information tip is to suck dry. My strongest attributes are charm and observation. Is it because the charm attribute is high that they won't suck to death, but just suck dry? Do you also let succubus go if you have high charisma? Does the Sky World also look at appearance? Zhou Tu shook his head, feeling that the conclusion he had drawn was somewhat ridiculous. If the succubus looks at the face and the charm attribute, then if I increase the charm attribute, wouldn't it be possible to entice the succubus to come to my island? But no matter whether the conclusion is ridiculous or not, it indirectly proves that increasing attributes can improve people's survival rate in the sky. However, the primary attribute to increase is still the island area, which needs to be slightly distinguished. Because he can see information about unknown islands. Which one is the main one? It is still very important to make a long-term choice. You want me to rank the things in the sky that need to become stronger first. The first thing is definitely to increase the area of a the floating island. The second is its own attributes. Because increasing attributes is a bit too slow, the bonus brought by increasing the island area is intuitive. The bonus of the island owner's heart combined with his information prompts can easily allow you to survive. Moreover, as the area of a the island increases, you can raise animals and plants that increase their attributes, and thus continuously increase your own attributes. Instead of being a rootless duckweed, eating this meal and having no next meal. Slow is fast, if you do it, do the entire industry chain. Finally Zhou Tu chose the pool. There isn't much of a reason. Urgently needed. The plants on the island are almost dying of thirst, so why bother about the future property industry chain? I will encounter the property Antelope Island again in the future. As for the dozen or so crocodiles on the island, he had a dozen bullets. If he was smart, he would stay away from them. If he was not smart, he would have no choice but to shoot these crocodiles. If the group wasn't too large, he could handle it now. If the island is big, we can just put some more animals in there and let them become permanent residents. If it becomes a resident animal, he can just walk up and stab you. This seemingly ordinary ability is actually a magical skill. It all depends on how you use it. Land on Crocodile Island. Zhou Tu did not bring the water pump at the beginning, but instead brought the guns he had collected before. What gave him such courage was the damage transfer and the sudden increase in attributes of the island master's heart. He has a gun in his hand and a trump card. Crocodiles are the kings of the water, but they are generally no match for humans on land. Their heavy bodies make it difficult for them to move, and they are also called swamp puppies. If I activate the attribute bonus, then the combat power will be more than twice my own. Crocodile is no match for me. Zhou Tu made a judgment, took a shovel, and went to the island. The island is very large, with a diameter of more than 3,000 meters. The pond is also very large and there are many low shrubs. Zhou Tu picked up a shovel and threw up dirt as he walked, in order to scare away any small animals and prevent them from being attacked. The information says that the most dangerous animals are crocodiles, but there are still many other animals on such a large floating island. His purpose was water, and nothing else, and he came to the pond, which was indeed a huge pond. There was a crocodile resting on the shore, and Zhou Tu walked over. It was discovered to be a female crocodile incubating eggs. Pump out the water first and then take away the crocodile eggs. After some observation, it seemed that this was the territory of this crocodile, and the other crocodiles were far away. Zhou Tu was relieved. As for pumping water, the pond was so large that 10 pumps would not be able to pump out all the water. The water pump started pumping water next to the pool, and Zhou Tu stood guard nearby. Live in harmony, he is not a person who likes killing. If this crocodile comes... Zhou Tu fired. The main reason was that a crocodile came and disturbed the pumping of water. In order to avoid being disturbed, Zhou Tu had to shoot it to death. Soon the crocodile began to tumble in the pool. Once the 10 water pumps were turned on, the water on the island was quickly pumped onto the island. This pond is still very large. After all, the island itself is very large. It is not like the small pond that was extracted before, which was directly extracted by the turtle. Now he plans to extract 4 hours. The island has to be moved day and night anyway, so there is no need to be as anxious as before. These waters are pumped from the islands and transformed into spring water through the island's own water circulation, which can also be sold directly. Although he doesn't seem to be working hard to make the island bigger now, he is actually working hard all the time. Shenking he has been reselling sundries, and Li Euro is also opening up a production line. As soon as the experiment is completed, an automated production line will be built. How to build? In fact, it is very simple in the sky world. Just buy the corresponding blueprint in the channel, build it, and assemble it. Zhou Tu roughly calculated the process. To make medicinal juice, he needed to select medicinal materials, heat, stir and package. There is electricity, there are motors, the basic conditions are in place. You can even directly switch to a large mixing furnace that combines heating and mixing functions in the channel, which can solve many problems at once. A production line must be built, otherwise, with Li Euro's physique that can run an airplane, she won't be able to produce much benefit and will be exhausted to death. Today, we will use all our energy to build a small production line and quickly produce the strength-boosting potion. He positioned Li Euro as a pharmacist, not a production worker or craftsman. Zhang Yiwei was having a headache at the moment. As the island grew larger, the strange island creatures he encountered became more diverse, and casualties from exploration were increasing. There are not enough medicines. It can even be said to be an urgent need. There are very few islands with medicinal herbs. There are 2 chapters left in the afternoon. Chapter 102. All we can do is see if Zhou Tu has any extra medical supplies. Tiju, do you have any extra medical supplies? We have suffered too many casualties here. I didn't expect that I, the second island owner, would eventually have to bow to Zhou Tu. I thought that with so many people harvesting supplies, I wouldn't need to rely on others, but I didn't expect that I would still need to rely on others. After taking another look at Zhou Tu's island owner rating, Zhang Yiwei felt relieved. The gap is too big. Now Zhou Tu's island rating is still rising rapidly, reaching over 21 million. It's really a fraction more than his rating. Isn't this rising too fast? While people in the channel were still arguing about whether there was a forest on Zhou Tu's island, he already knew that there was a forest on Zhou Tu's island. This can be seen from the details of the transaction. Several water pumps were borrowed before, but Zhou Tu was not seen selling water in the channel. This is enough to show that the water was used by Zhou Tu to develop the floating island. Zhou Tu looked at the message from Zhang Yiwei with a serious expression. Zhang Yiwei's organization can be said to be the strongest organization in the channel, and the top 4 in the channel are all their people. The organization has strict codes of conduct. As the island gets bigger, the probability of encountering a strange floating island also increases. Observation, auscultation, questioning and palpation were also of great guiding significance to him and helped him to a certain extent. Such a strong organization has suffered heavy casualties, so it is conceivable that the situation for others is not optimistic either. In his heart, he hoped that Zhang Yiwei's organization would do well. After all, it was the strongest organization in the sky and a great help to him. A powerful large organization is the engine of the entire sky, and some good things are exchanged with Zhang Yiwei's organization. So he also needs such a large organization to keep exploring. I have hemostatic powder and hemostatic grass. But these are things to use after being injured. I now have things to use before a battle. Looking at the message sent by Zhou Tuesday, Zhang Yiwei was suddenly shocked. Something used before a battle, something that could prevent injury. Then this kind of thing is the magic medicine for sky exploration. Zhang Yiwei asked hurriedly, Tiju, what on earth is it? He didn't expect that Zhou Tu had such a thing. No wonder Zhou Tu was so strong in exploration. It might have a lot to do with this thing. What Zhou Tu said now is equivalent to saying that it can be sold. If something like this is to be sold, then it can be inferred that Zhou Tu means that it can be mass-produced. Then he could only say that Zhou Tu was amazing and might be able to develop an industrial manufacturing process, but he just couldn't believe it. Zhou Tu continued, something that can improve the strength attribute. Currently it can improve the strength attribute by 5 points. Zhang Yiwei was certain that Zhou Tu had created something like a production line. Others are still selling basic things, but Zhou Tu has directly developed a production line? Is he a human being? He was so envious at the moment. The herb island planned by his subordinates had not yet taken shape, and it was even difficult to plant and cultivate herbs. However, Zhou Tu already had a production line here. Outrageous. The number 1 on the heavenly ranking is so terrifying. Sometimes when he saw other people's achievements he couldn't help but feel envious. Zhang Yiwei's brain froze, he felt envious and jealous for a while, then he calmed down. It's definitely a good thing. But does this medicine have any side effects? What method or price must be used to obtain it? What is the method of cooperation? Zhang Yiwei asked. Let's follow the same method as before with the shovel. How much soil does a potion contain? 1000 euro. I'll go discuss this with other people first. Also, you can trade the sample to us and we'll give it a try. Good. Zhou Tu breathed a sigh of relief after negotiating the business deal with Zhang Yiwei. When they found Mizushima, Li Euro had already told him that the medicine was ready. Let Li Euro do the experiment. After Li Euro gave the black cows the drink, one of the weak black cows directly crashed into a 10 cm thick tree and broke it. Then Li Euro and Shen Qinghe both took a big sip. Shen Qinghe looked at the attribute panel and found that his strength attribute had increased by 5 points. Drinking more would be of no use. The product produced by the recipe is okay. A mouthful of water contains about 15 ml of water. Li Euro used a 6,000 ml pot. By boiling a pot of herbal preparation, you can get 400,000 soil. The pharmaceutical industry is too profitable. For a moment, Zhou Tu felt that his asking price was too high. Looking back, I remembered the hard work I put in pumping water and collecting soil to expand the island, the hard work the elves put in cultivating herbs, the hard work Li Euro put in, and the hard work Shen King he put in by checking all the relevant blueprints and looking for people. With so much manual labor, if one thing is missing, it might not be possible to produce it. 1,000 pieces of soil are already very merciful. If Zhang Yiwei uses the strength-enhancing potion to get something good, it's their organization, not mine. That's it. If Zhang Yiwei and his men can't get along, people like 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th on the Tianbang can also cooperate. Tianyi has never lacked younger brothers. Many people want to cooperate, but they can't. I am too conscientious and kind. Thinking of this, Zhou Tu directly approved all the friend requests from the top 20 friends on the heavenly ranking, and gave the authority to Shen King he to chat on his behalf. Zhou Tu put away the water pump as the 4-hour stay was about to end. Zhou Tu roughly calculated that this time, more than 1,000 tons of water were pumped out. It's pretty standard. However, it can solve the island's urgent needs. On his deathbed, Zhou Tu looked at the female crocodile who was guarding her eggs and followed the principle of taking them all. Can this crocodile be brought to his own island? Zhou Tu didn't want to consider whether these crocodiles could survive on his island, because even if the crocodiles died, they could still be eaten. The small spring water on the island now is probably not enough to support a crocodile. It must first be supplied to the elves to grow trees and develop the island. To prevent wind and sand and carry out ecological cycle, we cannot afford to raise crocodiles, which require a lot of water. Thinking of this, Zhou Tu shot the female crocodile to death. Dig eggs, collect them, and carry the crocodile carcasses back to your island. Let's try some grilled crocodile today to see how good Li Euro is. To this end, Zhou Tu built a kitchen not far from the forest cabin for the convenience of using water. When he arrived at the cabin in the woods, Zhou Tu discovered that the spring had become bigger. Bisha said, the size of the spring is related to the total amount of water on the island. I have grown too many trees, so the amount of water in the spring has decreased slightly. Zhou Tu nodded, trees need some water to grow. If there are too many trees, the water will not be able to participate in the circulation immediately, and the spring will naturally become smaller. Chapter 103. Overall, the spring is still a bit small. However, the water that has been pumped out has not yet completely seeped into the land of Sky Island and become part of the island's circulation. At the very edge of the island, the pumped water is flooding the land. The water cycle value is currently 46.3. Once all that water is put into circulation, the spring should be bigger than before. Once we reach the safety line, it should be able to support the island's development for a while. With Bisha, covering the enlarged island with green vegetation should not be a problem. What is the fastest growing weed on the island right now? Zhou Tu asked. Wild sea buckthorn and ryegrass. Bisha explained, one requires less water and is suitable for stormy days. The other requires more water, but is less resistant to storms and needs to be scaled up. Zhou Tu nodded. The elf was proficient in plant development, so asking the elf was a professional match. The island in the channel became bigger, but there were no plants on it, and many of them were discussing what to plant in order to survive. The island has become a little bigger, but when there is a little wind, some sand will be blown away. Wind disasters can bring soil, but they can also blow away soil. What plants can be planted on the island? I can accept that the wind brings mud, but I cannot accept that the wind takes away the mud from my island. Isn't it just blowing in vain? For plants with large root systems, Halos Island Amodendron will do. I went to a desert island and planted some Halos Island Amodendron. There is also sea buckthorn on the island, which is now growing. The vegetation on my island is pretty good. If this continues, I feel my island will become smaller. The island urgently needs a batch of seeds that can withstand strong wind disasters. The island becomes larger, and the larger part is free of plants. When exposed to the sun during the day and blown by the wind, it will blow again. Becoming bigger is a problem, and not being able to hold onto the soil after becoming bigger is also a problem. Plant seeds are a problem, and whether they can survive is another problem. The life of an island master is so miserable. Zhou Tu sighed, there is no other island master as sweet as me. The first batch of sea buckthorn has already produced red fruits. The elf smiled, and the yellow fruit tree you ordered has bloomed, and the pea seeds have sprouted. After the elf said this, Zhou Tu set off immediately. He doesn't care much about other plants. Those who pick and sell sea buckthorn seeds don't pay as much attention to peas. Plants such as the yellow fruit tree, the world tree, and the big-mouthed flower are of great importance to him. It concerns the island's defense and attack, the increase of his own attributes, and the unknown effects, so he has to pay attention to it. Peas and daylily trees were planted in the medicinal fields. Zhou Tu came to where the peas were. This pea shooter was cultivated as a seed, and the peas had already grown vines. It's growing fast. If the environment is suitable, plants will grow very fast even without my help, said Bisha. Zhou Tu agreed with the elf's statement that a plant that grew more than 10 centimeters a day would grow faster with the elf's help. He said, the peas are ejected. When they mature, we must not let the seeds eject again. We must cultivate pea fields. The pea shooter is a combat sequence in the magic area. It does not require electricity, but only sunlight and water. It is a very green weapon, pollution-free and powerful. If you have more, you can stir-fry the peas and try the taste. I wonder how such big beans taste. Listening to Zhou Tu's instructions, Bataya said, got it, my great island master. The yellow fruit tree is in bloom. There is a small yellow flower on top of the green fruit on the yellow fruit tree, and there are a few poisonous bees on the yellow flower. There are already poisonous bees collecting nectar from the yellow fruit trees. How did this poisonous bee fly to the tree over there? Zhou Tu looked at the tree in the distance and saw a poisonous bee flying out. They've moved. It seems that they are not used to the home I made. Zhou Tu shook his head. I just don't know if the honey made by these bees after collecting these pollens will have any cumulative effect. He didn't care about anything else. The bees were placed in the biological area with the original intention of preventing too many bees from going to the new island during the island docking process. Now that they have moved here, it means that the poisonous bee has adapted to this place. It's a good thing. Shen King he can collect the special seeds from people in the channel. It will be a great profit if you can train them when the time comes. You've talked so much today. What do you want? Zhou Tu asked the elf flying in front of him. The elf was a little embarrassed. The vegetation in the biological regions divided by the island owner is a bit short. Now there is a lot of water, and I want to plant larger plants in the biological regions. So that's what it is. It won't interfere with the sand forest defense. Just get up if you have the energy to do so. At first he planned to let the elves plant crops all over the place. Except for the mechanical area where defense towers need to be built, there is no problem in planting plants in all other areas. This can not only train the elves' abilities, but also prevent wind and sand. To be honest, if they were all built high enough, the entire island would be a sand-proof forest, and all the sand brought by the wind would be blocked. On the contrary, the efficiency is higher. Island Master, you are so wise. Zhou Tu smiled lightly. With the Island Master's heart suppressing him, the elves built the island and the Island Master's heart was strengthened. In other words, the stronger the elves were, the stronger he would be. The stronger he becomes, the stronger the islands he explores, the more supplies he obtains, and the stronger the elves become. In other words, he pushes with his left foot and spirals up to heaven with his right foot. All the materials you need to build the production line have been found. Shen King he sent a message on the Island Master's heart. 3 people and 1 elf met in the mechanical area. The production line is built here. Zhou Tu looked at the land under his feet. 230 meters away from the center of the island, a strength potion production line was built. In the future, all formulas and production lines will be obtained here to form a production park. As the island continues to grow, this place will become the hinterland of the island. A defense system is built on the periphery so that the production line will not be damaged even if attacked by monsters. These produced materials will become the nuclear power for the island to grow larger. These things can be built without any energy, this is the power of industrial integration. Shen King he, I have already obtained the blueprints for the large-scale heating stirring pot, the motor blueprint, and the large-scale stainless steel container blueprint. Zhou Tu took out the blueprint and made it with the materials. It is detected that the island owner has used 26 blueprints to piece together a heating and mixing machine to form a power medicine production line. Does it consume 20 energy points, 100 units of steel, 100 units of iron, 50 units of copper? Optimization. Yes. A huge electric current heating container appeared in front of Zhou Tu, with a stirrer driven by a motor on it. The instrument was not very complicated. After all, it was just a large pot with automatic stirring. Someone outside watches the instrument, stirs it, turns on the switch to release the liquid inside into the stainless steel tank next to it, and it's done. The most important things are the formula, raw materials, and supporting electrical equipment, none of which can be missing. Li Euro was a little surprised, such a big heating and mixing machine. This mixer can fit all of us. Afterwards, Zhou Tu used energy to directly build a large steel plant and incorporated the instruments into it, which was considered a complete success. Shen King he, congratulations, Island Master. From now on, we can continue to expand the floating island without using energy. Zhou Tu raised his eyebrows slightly. So far, he has used more than 400 points of energy, and more than 300 of them were used for the production line. If it weren't for the extra energy, it would not be completed in one day. Fortunately, the profitable business finally succeeded. Today is a good day. The experiment will be over soon. Zyro will prepare dinner. We will have crocodile meat tonight. Yet. Li Euro raised her hand and shouted. She was drooling when she saw the crocodile that Zhou Tu had killed. She hadn't eaten fresh meat for many days. King He has done a good job in publicity and promotion. The top 20 are our big customers, and each of them has a large group of people behind them. Chapter 104. Shen King He nodded vigorously. Just before, when Zhou Tu directly passed the people on the top 20 island owners list, the people on the list immediately sent warm greetings. What? The great Zhou Tu finally added people, you are the god in the channel. The master finally has some spare energy. I have been fighting for a long time. Zhou Tu, the person I admire most is you. With words like these, she felt that these people were really bootlickers. It's several times more licking than what the fish she raises say. However, when thinking of Zhou Tu's identity and status, these people's remarks were more than appropriate. Although these people were licking Zhou Tu, she was chatting on his behalf and felt very comfortable. These people are too enthusiastic, Shen King he asked. In her eyes, these people were all big shots. Let's first see what Zhou Tu's attitude towards these people is. Zhou Tu smiled lightly, don't be too enthusiastic, Just do business if there is business, just talk directly, we are selling things and doing business, maybe these people are also diddy chatting on behalf of us. Zhou Tu didn't believe that there were no other people on the islands of these big island owners. With only one person on the island, the efficiency is too low. Finally, I will post something in the channel to promote our strength boosting potion. As Tianyi, I don't need to be weak. I should speak more forcefully. Okay. Shen King he gathered her hair. As an expert in fish farming, customer service is a job that is a perfect match for her. She felt that the job Zhou Tu assigned to her was a good fit. The two helped Li Euro collect the materials and added them into the mixing furnace according to the proportion. Waiting for the herbs to be boiled. Zhou Tu calculated that based on the current 460 energy points he could sell more than 4 million tons of soil a day by selling engineer shovels. Stainless steel can be used to make 200 liters of strength increasing agent. If it is sold at a price of 1,000, it can get 1,300 million soils. Just flip it. Moreover, you can keep boiling medicine, completely getting rid of your dependence on energy. This strength potion production line is a high-quality asset on the island. Energy can be used to do other things, make other things, and exchange with people in the channel for new blueprints and important means of production. The more things you make, the richer the resources on the island will be, and a cycle will be formed. In this way, more energy will be used, and you can even try to use energy to stimulate the growth of the world tree for a few seconds. But Zhou Tu felt that he was reluctant to use this energy to give birth to the world tree. It could only last for a few seconds, so it was not cost-effective. Now we are considering the issue of buying and selling. The strength-enhancing potion has been produced, but will there be so many people who will buy it? Zhou Tu needs to consider the market. The bottom layer of the sky world is not good. It is difficult to ask these people to dig out mud to buy an amplification potion now. If you sell half today, you'll win and get your money back. These people must be given a process of acceptance. I don't know how Zhang Yiwei discussed it, their contract is the same as the previous one for selling engineer shovels. You can use it first and pay later. If the medicine doesn't sell well in the channel, he will consider tomorrow the abilities that the island master's heart will gain after breaking through level 50. Blueprint synthesis function. The blueprints of the same type and level collected by the island owner can be synthesized by spending energy, yellow 50 energy, green 100 energy, cyan 200 energy, blue 400 energy, purple. He needs to collect more shovel blueprints and synthesize them using energy. Further improve the digging efficiency of the shovel. The efficiency at the bottom level is too low, and we need to help a group of highly efficient people. Zhang Yiwei's island is only level 100 now, so it is impossible for him to synthesize a shovel. It will directly consume 50 points of energy, which will really hurt his rhythm. Now the people on the leaderboard do not know the final result of the synthesis blueprint, and most people will not choose to do so. To synthesize the shovel, energy is needed to make it. As the floating island that is the head of many organizations, it will be out of business if it doesn't have energy for a day, which will greatly slow down the pace of development. Zhou Tu estimated that some of these people were more calculating about energy management than he was. He estimated that many people were waiting for him to experiment with this function. Zhou Tu kicked the turtle at his feet into the weeds next to him. As Tianyi, I really have to be the first to try it out. There were more than a dozen people on Zhang Yiwei's island, some of them had bandages on their arms, and some had broken legs and feet. 2 test subjects have already tried the drug. How is it? Zhang Yiwei asked. The others also had shining eyes. They encountered too many animals on the islands they explored. The creatures on the lonely islands often showed inexplicable hostility when they saw strange creatures. They often take the initiative to attack. As the island gets bigger, the animals become stronger. A mutant dog island caused many people to be injured. Now, anything that can increase a person's strength is a good thing. Just as Zhou Tu said, it can increase a person's offensive ability. If one strikes first, there is a high probability that one blow will be fatal. The more power one has, the less chance of getting injured. The drug testing man looked at his panel and said, the strength has indeed increased by 5 points. Zhang Yiwei, how about trying the 50 kilograms dumbbells I found first? A drug tester directly lifted up the dumbbell that he had not lifted at that time with one hand. Increasing the attribute strength by 5 points is very useful. If it is an ordinary beast, it should not be my opponent now. The mutant dog before seemed like it could be killed with just one swing of the arm. Another person came to a similar conclusion. It was a bit difficult to lift before, but now I feel like I can lift 3 or 4 dumbbells with one hand. A small increase in attributes is a huge improvement. Zhang Yiwei listened and pondered. The attribute growth was slow, and the attribute was increased by about 5 points at once, and the strength was directly multiplied several times. This is very useful for landing on Monster Island. It's a shame it's not permanent. Zhang Yiwei is waiting for feedback from Jian Yuntian and Hu Qunlin. How is your experiment going? Hu Qunlin, question Tianyi, believe in Tianyi, worship Tianyi. You decide. Jian Yuntian, very useful, boss, you have a very good eye. I suggest you exchange as much as you can. Zhang Yiwei said expressionlessly, no objections, very good, if we work together, we can develop the fastest. Kicking Huang Yao out was a very correct decision, otherwise the organization would not have been able to develop so fast. Can you exchange as much as you have? Tushan, maybe 1,000 muds are not of much use to us, but for the bottom level, adding a little more may upgrade it. A little more energy is very precious. Zhou Tu, for an organization of more than 20,000 people, buy at least 1,000 copies every day. Pay for potions in the morning and soil in the evening. Zhang Yiwei, 500 copies. Zhou Tu sighed, doing business is not easy. These people are so cunning that it is not possible to bargain directly. It still depends on the vast number of working Sky Island owners. Can. Zhou Tu swipes to the world channel and edits the words. The next 2 chapters will be updated at 8 p.m. Chapter 105. Strength Attribute Enhancement Potion, can enhance the strength attribute by 5 points, is very helpful for killing monsters and exploring, only 1000 soil and 600 stones can be exchanged for it, and it will be on sale in 10 minutes. Zhou Tu looked at his speech and honestly thought there was nothing new in it. But for a god like him, no matter what he says, it doesn't matter. Even if he farts in the channel, it will be a fragrant fart. 2 Shen, it's 2 Shen, capture a 2 Shen alive. 666A10010 2 Shen is awesome, but I want to ask if the increased strength attribute can kill monsters instantly. Although I don't understand anything, I can just boast about being awesome for being able to come up with something like this. Tushan Island is so big now, can I go to the island? I am a woman. Zhou Tu's father is 18 years old this year. He seldom speaks in the channel, but when he does, his words are as powerful as a nuclear bomb, directly blowing up the diving fish. Some people in the channel started shouting 6 without any reason. I have to say, there are still a lot of people in the atmosphere group in the channel. These people just have too much energy, and I don't know where to use it. Zhou Tu knew that this was the prestige brought by his more than 20 million ratings. As the island gets bigger, everyone knows what the score represents. A strong person can gain the support of others just by saying something in the channel, and the same goes for Zhang Yiwei. Zhang Yiwei said a secret code in the channel, the king covers the earth. Many people knew that Zhang Yiwei was an organization, so they started directly, looking at the quadrants for symbols, stewing chicken with mushrooms, sending random messages and chatting privately. These people will do anything to curry favor with the big guys. When strength develops to a certain level, the effect it brings far exceeds other effects, and rankings are the most valuable publicity. Zhou Tu watched the conversation seriously. Why is it so expensive? It's the same as a shovel at €1. To be honest, the increase in strength is good, but for someone like me who has done little exploration, it is much smaller. Tushan sells shovels. I want to buy a shovel as a souvenir. Can I use something else to exchange for the strength enhancing potion? I really don't want to exchange it with mud. His strength potion is targeted at a certain group of people, so it will not be very effective on casual users. However, if you encounter a living creature and have some ideas, it will naturally be very effective. If you rely on strength potions to hit animals every time, you can really get huge benefits. Once a cycle is formed, the strong will always be strong. Zhou Tu glanced at his private chat friends. These friends also want to use other supplies to exchange for strength potions. Zhou Tu said to Shen King He, our strength potion does not have to be exchanged for soil, other materials can also be exchanged. You think the things the other party traded can be exchanged for the price of 1000 soils? Clear. The essence of trading is to enrich the materials on the island. Soil is a material, and other miscellaneous items are also materials. They are useless on these people's island, but they might be useful on his island. The essence is to exchange for the fruits of other people's labor. Soil can make the island bigger, so these people are reluctant to exchange it, and he doesn't mind using other materials. He collected a large amount of supplies from others, and once there were enough supplies, the island became a platform. He doesn't even need to bring back supplies from other islands. He can make a profit just by trading the supplies. But the most important thing is to exchange for supplies to make the island bigger. When Zhou Tu was about to visit other islands, Shen King He suddenly said, Zhou Tu, except for Zhang Yiwei, Hu Qunlin and their group, all the other top-ranked people want to cooperate with us. Are you all going to cooperate with us? Zhou Tu was a little surprised. He had just sent a message in the channel and these people responded immediately. As expected of a top ranking, he is very sensitive to information. Just exchange the money for the goods and test their strength. Zhou Tu said. He is not very familiar with these organizations, so just treat them as usual. There is still a lot of time to go and he will see what happens. If the cooperation is reputable, he can also accept credit. To deepen the partnership. The 19th ranked Liang Chao's organization doesn't seem to have a very good reputation in the channel. It seems that they plunder other people's islands when they encounter them. Is it worth cooperating with such people? Shen King He said. This was the news she discovered while observing the world chat. In the list she recorded, Liang Chao was a dangerous organization that would often rob strangers if they found some islands and did not join. Zhou Tu paused, this world has both righteous and dark groups. But it's hard to say what the actual situation is. He also didn't want to judge the reputation of these groups. Even if they plundered other people, they would not necessarily encounter human islands every time. The probability of encountering humans was not very high, so it would be fine if they didn't kill anyone. The number of people in the sky was already in a state of sharp decline. It would be terrible if the island owner robbed the island's supplies and killed people. Plunder can also awaken those salty island owners, thinking that there is no danger if they stay where they are and don't explore. In a way, it is a good thing. If you don't develop, there are plenty of people who will help you develop. There are two sides to every coin. If he encounters some islands, if the other party is too rich, he may rob them. This is normal in the sky world. As long as you do business sincerely, you are our good friend. Okay. Shen Qinghe understood Zhou Tu's idea a little bit. He just wanted to earn useful resources. Zhou Tu said, it doesn't matter whether the other party is right or wrong, it's only about interests. Clear. From his perspective, all he cares about is increasing the supplies on his island, he doesn't care about the other party's reputation. His island is so powerful, but the first sentence from the other side was still respectful. Only when you are strong yourself can you be truly strong. The sky is so big, how can he manage everything in the world? He would take sides based on interests rather than the other party's reputation. The most important thing in the sky world is to survive, and upholding justice is not his business. Check the private messages I received, screen those who are asking for help, and provide them with resource subsidies. Zhou Tu told Shen Qinghe about his assistance plan. Generally speaking, after reporting their identities, Shen Qinghe would ask some questions and conduct a brief assessment, and then they would be given certain supplies. Zhou Tu temporarily set the number of people at 50 per day. Before, he had watched private chats and world channels and saw many people asking him for help, some of whom claimed to be scientists, doctors, missile designers, and so on. In Zhou Tu's eyes, what the island lacks most is talent. On Blue Star, Xia country has tens of millions of talents graduating every year, and the competition is extremely fierce. These people may be ordinary people, and some of them are delivering food, but they are truly high-tech talents in other countries. It's just that there are too many talented people in Xia country, so it feels very ordinary. Other countries are envious of the large number of highly qualified and highly educated young people they see every year. Let's start the talent plan. If you change channels, you might come across one on the island someday, and it would be a win if you could catch. 1. Chapter 106. All value is created by people. In the channel, someone can develop a condenser without a blueprint. But as a fake, these things can be made just by taking a quick look at the channel. This is the role of talent. Let's first upgrade the island with the soil that Shen Qinghe used to work on. Zhou Tu checked the amount of soil that Shen Qinghe had exchanged during this time. The soil is worth 620,000, not bad. Zhou Tu was satisfied. If he were to manage these sundries in exchange, he might not do as well as Shen Qinghe. And today he didn't care about these sundries at all, he just focused on doing the work of Tuntunshu. All in all, to put it simply, first upgrade a small level, and then explore. As night approached, he felt that a storm was coming. 660,000 soils are enough for him to upgrade to level 465. The island area has been detected to be increasing. The current level of the island master's heart is 465, energy, 23/475, and the materials required for the next upgrade are 46,500 soil and 4,750 stone. This time it is a small upgrade, only level 13. But Zhou Tu was not in a hurry, as the level of the island would be increased slowly. There would be a storm today, so he could sell some of the strength-increasing potions. The soil obtained had a major upgrade before night. Arriving at the edge of the island, I originally planned to collect information and move the floating island. Bishop flew over and said, I won't plant any trees until the diameter is expanded to more than 10 meters. No problem. The expansion is 10 meters in diameter, but only half of that on the periphery. The edge of the island is increased by 5 meters, which is too close to the trees planted last time. Planting a circle now is quite a workload for the elves. There is really no need to plant a very dense row of trees. Just plant some grass to cover it, said Zhou Tuesday. I just found a sea buckthorn plant that seems to grow much faster. Bisha said, I know the normal growth rate of sea buckthorn, but this one is a little unusual, it grows half as fast. Zhou Tu knew what the sea buckthorn was after a little thought. Since the elves came to the island, the most planted crop in the past few days is sea buckthorn. Sea buckthorn is very resistant to drought and wind disasters. There are tens of thousands of sea buckthorn plants on his floating island. With the bonus of elves, the growth speed is accelerated, and the heart of the island owner has a mutation bonus. It seems that sea buckthorn has mutated, and the mutation is towards the growth speed. The floating island is big, it's normal for some plants to mutate, and animals will mutate in the future. Zhou Tu explained. Judging from the unlocking bonus, when the island is upgraded to level 500, the probability of animal and plant mutation will increase. I just don't know whether the seeds will have the characteristics of rapid growth after individual plants mutate. Zhou Tu instructed, grow this sea buckthorn and see what its offspring will look like. Okay. If the offspring also have strong growth potential, he doesn't mind helping the people in the channel to prevent wind and sand. Cultivate more seeds, collect them and trade them, which will also be profitable. His energy can be used for other things. In a blink of an eye, Zhou Tu saw that the sand retaining wall was missing a little. A lot of stone was used in the island upgrade, which caused gaps in the sand retaining wall. However, with the water, the sand blocking trees on the periphery were erected. As long as there is enough water, the task of retaining sand falls to the trees on the island. A useful building like the sand retaining wall will disappear on his island after being upgraded to several hundred levels, which can be regarded as the completion of its original mission. Zhou Tu continued to explore the islands. His goal now was to select large islands with useful blueprints as much as possible. However, there are too few blueprints, which are not as good as the blueprints that Shen Qinghe exchanged in the channel. Time flies and the sky is gradually getting dark. The trees on the floating island were blown to pieces, a storm was coming. There are too many exchanged supplies and no place to put them. Some things may be damaged by the wind. Shen Qinghe sent a message. Zhou Tu came to the center of the island. I replaced some electronic equipment, monitors, computers and other sundries. After thinking about it, Zhou Tu built 3 more rooms. Please keep electronic equipment, plant seeds and sundries separate. To store things, he has built 10 large rooms as warehouses. Now that the strength-enhancing potion has been brewed, it can be exchanged for other items of equal value, and the amount of sundries received has increased. It seems that our island's progress as a goods transfer platform is terrifyingly fast. Shenking he raised the question, I feel like it's too much for one person to just search and submit material exchanges on the trading channel. Zhou Tu put the supplies into the room. There were no professional shelves in the room. Although it was called a warehouse, it didn't look like a warehouse. The question raised by Shenking he is indeed a big one. He had been looking for someone he knew because he was too busy. Now, with the production line for power potions, there is an excess of materials to be exchanged. The problem of insufficient staff became apparent. There were too many supplies and no professional shelves or sorters, which was really stressful for Shenking he. Including packing strength potions for other people. It's okay for large organizations, they can just use barrels, but it's much more troublesome for individuals. Fortunately, I have collected a lot of disposable cups. If I meet women next time, I will find some more to go to the island. The lack of manpower limits our development. Zhou Tu understood the root of the problem. First, the island was too large and sparsely populated, so no one collected the seeds of sea buckthorn. Second, the production capacity is too high and the logistics cannot cope with it. The ability to see through information, the explosive production capacity of gathering too many resources resulted in a few people being unable to handle too many materials. There are too many supplies, I can't handle it, I really can't handle it. Li Yuro also came over to help move things. Brother Zhou Tu, my sister and I have been busy all afternoon and really didn't have much time to rest. Okay, I'll try my best to find someone. Zhou Tu agreed. Shenking he continued, in the afternoon, the amount of soil exchanged for the strength-enhancing potion was about 1.6 million. Most people used other sundries to replace the soil in exchange for the strength-enhancing potion. Zhou Tu nodded and did not choose to upgrade the island immediately. The best time to upgrade islands is when the wind has stopped. If too many islands are upgraded at once, the extra islands will have no vegetation, and the edges will be eroded by the wind because they will not be covered by vegetation. If there is no storm in a day, I wonder when it will stop? Li Yuro ran to Shenking he with something in her arms, watched Zhou Tu enter another room, stood on tiptoe and whispered, Sister, the big wooden tub for bathing is ready. Chapter 107. Shenking he rubbed Li Yuro's head and said, wash it at night. It's been so many days. Sister, you are so thoughtful. Li Yuro laughed, brother is more convenient, just take a shower in the spring. Shenking he's eyes moved slightly, actually, you can also rush there. No, I don't. I feel a little embarrassed to have an intelligent creature like Sister Bisha around. Besides, brother Zhou Tu is still outside and can appear in those places at any time. Shenking he shook his head and put the remaining things into the warehouse. Looking at the things in the warehouse, I couldn't help but sigh. Coming to the sky world, facing sand every day on her island, if Zhou Tu hadn't planned to take her to the island, she wouldn't have been so extravagant as to use so much water. When they arrived at Zhou Tu's island, Zhou Tu explained that the spring water was endless and could be regarded as a small water circulation system, and she felt relieved. So much water has been extracted today, so there is no shortage of water resources. This is the advantage of a large island. When an island is large enough, it can even produce springs. And the resources are unmatched by others. A formula medicine production line was established, and resources from the sky world continued to flow to Zhou Tu. Now she felt that with so many supplies, even without a production line, the supplies would increase by exchanging them in the sky. This transaction was like a hand taking over pork. Of course, another reason is Zhou Tu's own ability. Zhou Tu has a very good reputation in the channel, and many people directly specify Zhou Tu when making transactions. When she was trading today, she found that someone's transaction had been pending for a long time. This was something she could not even envy. These people trusted Zhou Tu, which was not much different from giving away resources for free. Today I told Zhou Tu about the shortage of manpower. From what Zhou Tu said, if we meet someone, there is a high probability that we can let others go to the island. According to the consistent thinking of the survival world, Zhou Tu should not let men go to the island. Some women may be screened to come to the island. But when they arrived at Zhou Tu's island, Zhou Tu didn't seem to give her and Li Yuro too many hints. Except last night. After much thought, Shenking he decided to place his bet in advance. No one could say for sure that there would be better women in the future. Since we have the first mover advantage, we must seize it. Xiaoro cooks crocodile meat very well. Zhou Tu said frankly. There is a chef on the island who is quite good. For someone like him who has high demands on food, having a good cook is a good choice. Li Yuro was delighted, brother, let's make mushroom porridge tomorrow. I saw a lot of mushrooms in the woods. They look colorful and look great. Zhou Tu turned his head and smiled, if you can tell whether it is poisonous or not, then there is no problem. If you can't, forget it. He scattered these mushrooms in the woods, and if he didn't eat them, he would be afraid of lying down. In the sky world, eating food with unknown ingredients is very risky. Once poisoned, there is no specific medicine and no hospital treatment, so it would be a lot of fun to be poisoned to death. It would be a joke in hell if he died from accidentally eating a mushroom, but damage transfer should be able to transfer the poisonous damage of the mushroom. Shenking he said jokingly, have you ever picked mushrooms? Sister, I don't want to lie on the board with you. She came to Zhou Tu's island, still thinking about Zhou Tu. Only a few days had passed, and she didn't want these dangerous things to happen. Li Euro stuck out her tongue, since my brother and sister are so scared, I'll try each one. Don't eat too much, try slowly, eating a small amount shouldn't be a problem. Zhou Tu said. He originally wanted to stop Li Euro, but Li Euro wanted to show herself, so he couldn't stop her. It would be a good thing if Li Euro could tell which mushrooms are poisonous. From then on, poisoning became one of his tactics. Moreover, it is a poison that can be produced quickly. Li Euro is a chef and a pharmacist. Now she has become a poison tester, so there seems to be no problem. I will. After dinner, the wind did not stop and Zhou Tu became a hands-off boss. His room seemed to have been decorated by Shen King He, making it no longer so monotonous. There was a laptop on the table. Some of the electronic products were collected by him before, and some were exchanged today, giving it a modern feel. The bed sheets were replaced with new ones and the quilt was folded neatly. He usually didn't fold the quilt when he got up. However, Zhou Tu didn't care about these home-like changes. I opened the chat channel, and it was quite lively. Most people were watching the channel during the typhoon, but now everyone has changed the name of the typhoon, calling it the Wind of Plenty. As time goes by in the exploration of the sky, the things people discuss every day have a certain focus. At the beginning, everyone in the channel discussed what to eat, drink and where to live. Next up is how to get to the island safely, what is the most valuable thing to take, and how to dig the land the fastest. There is a different focus every day, and naturally there are many people asking how to solve the problems at hand. After many times of intercepting soil and upgrading to larger islands, the area of A people's floating islands has increased to a certain extent. Today the focus is on how to keep the soil on the enlarged island and how to prevent it from being blown away by the wind. There is no grass or vegetation on the island. I didn't pay much attention to it before, but today I found that due to the constant breeze, the soil loss reached a certain level, and the island actually became one level smaller. After the downgrade, the energy limit also decreased. This is really F-ed, the floating island can become smaller. Me too, strong winds bring mud, and small winds keep blowing away the mud, somewhat silently. How do you protect the mud from being blown away on such a large island? Putting more water on the island and increasing the weight of the soil is the best method at this stage. Building a circle of walls can effectively prevent the mud from being blown away, and the island can also be used as a basin to collect mud on windy days. Plant trees to prevent wind and sand. Zhou Tu turned off the chat. At first, people complained that their island was small, but when they realized that by intercepting the mud brought by the wind, the diameter of the island quickly increased and the living space became larger. Before they had time to be happy, they were faced with the problem of the soil of the floating island being blown away by the strong wind. Strong winds bring mud, and light winds take away the mud. Although the amount is small, it is very irritating in the long run and needs to be solved. He never worries about the things that these chats worry about. Giving the elves enough resources and time can solve the problem. Zhou Tu had just opened the materials needed for the light prism tower to see which ones were left when he discovered that the wind had stopped blowing. The wind died down so quickly. In the dark night, under the white light, Zhou Tu looked at the mud brought by the storm with a solemn expression. After the previous wind disaster, he turned on the water circulation value, and the water circulation value dropped significantly because the wind brought some dry soil. This time the water circulation value dropped, but not too much, about 3 points. Zhou Tu grabbed a handful of sand piled against the wall of the house. It doesn't feel that much different. But Zhou Tu still remembered the feeling of the sand the first time he grabbed it, dry and light. The sand in Zhou Tu's hand slid gently from his fingertips like sand in an hourglass. This time it was slightly different and a little heavier. If you are not careful, you won't be able to feel anything. Zhou Tu narrowed his eyes slightly. What do you mean? Update at 8 p.m. Chapter 108. The changes in wind disasters are now gradually becoming apparent. There is only one possibility, that is, the environment must change. It looks like the wind disaster turned into a rain disaster. Zhou Tu made a guess, otherwise there would be no moisture in the sand. However, this change should be gradual and it is impossible for it to turn into a rainstorm disaster all of a sudden. It will probably take some time for the area to turn from a wind disaster area into a rain disaster area. The wind disaster area becomes the rain disaster area, the wind disaster brings mud and the rain disaster brings water. Zhou Tu thought, with such a strong wind, it would probably rain heavily too. He remembered what the people in the channel said just now, that their soil was blown away by the wind. Too much rain will at least cause soil erosion. If these people are not well prepared for sand fixation by then, they will suffer heavy losses. But for me, water is so scarce. Having water is a huge plus for me. Why do I feel like I'm eager for the rain-stricken area to arrive soon? Zhou Tu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It seemed that the island was used to the lack of water. It's all the fault of the elf Bisha, who complains about the lack of water every day. He has a bit of a syndrome. You need to check the water circulation value from time to time, it cannot be too low. On a floating island, having sufficient water or not having enough water has completely different effects on plant growth. He remembered that after a rain, the African grasslands would turn green in 2 or 3 days. I have the bonus of elves, so I grow even faster. The speed should be even faster. By then, we may really reap 100 or 1,000 times as much as we sow. Zhou Tu analyzed his own situation and felt that there was nothing to be afraid of on his island. On the contrary, he still has some expectations for the rain-stricken areas. But by then it should rain a lot, and an island lake should be dug. The first thing that the island master's heart reminded us of was that the floating island had endless potential. We could build houses, reclaim wasteland, and dig lakes. If we could do all of this, the floating island would become a paradise. At that time, both he and the people in the channel were skeptical about such prompts. Now he had no doubt at all. According to my development trend, this is the case. The wind disaster was just a wind disaster at first, but later people called it the wind of abundance. The rainstorm can also bring benefits. The lakes on the islands should be able to dry up by then. With the lake, the ecosystem should be able to develop further. Thinking of this, he felt a little regretful. Why didn't he rush over a few crocodiles at that time? There are too many types of islands in the sky world, and there are many animals and huge amounts of supplies. Even if he encounters an island of the same type, it is difficult to encounter it again. Succubus Island is an example. Fortunately, we brought back some crocodile eggs. Zhou Tu came to the cabin in the woods, dug a small hole not far from the spring, and put the crocodile eggs in it. I hope we can get some baby crocodiles. Without female crocodiles to hatch, I don't know if it will succeed. Success is a win. Zhou Tu was not hesitant. Crocodile meat is still good. As for the next area announced in the channel, it is the rain-hit area. Zhou Tu thought about it and decided to give up. One is based on his speculation, and the other is that this situation is not so obvious. If his guess fails, it would be very embarrassing, even though he is more than 80% sure. If the water content of the sand continues to increase and the amount of silt brought by the wind disaster decreases, it can be 100% certain that the next area will be a rain disaster area. Talking about this matter too early will lead to too many criticisms. Many people may say that he is sensationalizing. Zhou Tu plans to look at the mud brought by the storm a few more times before talking about this matter. After making a small logo on the crocodile egg, Zhou Tu opened the chat and took a look at Shen Qinghe's Diddy chat. KGIEI, to Zhu, the soil transaction has been completed, please check. Okay. Zhuang Ziao, nice cooperation, Tushan. The potion is very useful. I want it again tomorrow. Fang Zhenghong, I plan to ask for more medicine tomorrow. Can Tuzhu give me more tomorrow? I can accept the soil first and reserve the medicine. Zhang Yiwei, the balance has been paid, I want a little more tomorrow. After reading them one by one, Shen Qinghe's replies were good, and the attitudes of the top 20 were all good. They are all smart people. The bigger the island, the more you will understand what the bigger the island can produce. With 20 million points more than them, you can probably imagine how awesome that is. Watching Fang Zhenghong's conversation, Zhou Tu was stunned. This guy actually wanted to give the soil first and then ship the goods. The agreement between him and Zhang Yiwei was to deliver the goods first and then the soil. This is where the difference comes out. At that time, he wanted an organization to support him, so he made such an agreement with Zhang Yiwei. Fang Zhenghong, who is ranked 7th, is now doing the same thing as he did at the beginning. There is an expert. Good courage. Zhou Tu raised Fang Zhenghong's level a little. He accepted the kindness. There are certain means to get the soil out first. Fang Zhenghong wants to cling to my thighs. Zhou Tu knew clearly in his mind that if he became stronger, his younger brothers would naturally come to him, but this younger brother would come with a group of younger brothers. In this case, there is no problem with focusing on support, as long as the benefits are high enough. As Tianyi, Zhou Tu feels that his greatest advantage is that he does not look at others with prejudice. The most important thing is to bring benefits, and other things are not too important. First, gather the soil on the island and the soil obtained after today's upgrade and upgrade the island. Then we'll see if the energy we get is enough for 50 points. I had previously instructed Shen Qinghe to collect shovel blueprints, and there are already 10 shovel blueprints. If you can upgrade to level 50, directly synthesize the shovel blueprint to see the effect. Zhou Tu flew over the sky island and obtained the total amount of mud brought by the storm. 1.5 million. A little less. The shorter the wind blows, the less sand it carries, and the less sand we get. Zhou Tu was somewhat contradictory again. The typhoon hit area was the most efficient area for island enlargement. In the rainstorm area, human exploration will be more difficult and the growth of the island will be greatly slowed down. The storm hit area should last longer. The size of the sky island is the basis for carrying everything. As long as the floating island is large, it will be built slowly and everything it needs will be there. After the storm, there is the rain disaster. What disaster is next? In this case, wind disasters are basic disasters. If the foundation is not laid well, it will be very difficult in the future. Zhou Tu sighed, the sky world is not that simple. Add together the soil obtained by Shen Qinghe, the small amount of soil obtained in the evening, and the soil brought by this storm. Zhou Tu started upgrading the island. Chapter 109. The total amount of soil obtained this time was 4.28 million tons, which was tens of thousands more than the amount brought by the Great Storm. These soils can upgrade the island to level 554. Zhou Tu looked at his remaining stones and found that they were enough for the upgrade, which would consume 439,000 stones. If we upgrade in this way, most of the sand-proof wall will have to be demolished. We previously exchanged 1.2 million for a shovel, and the last major upgrade cost almost 400,000. This time we are using 430,000, and there is not much stone left. However, the trees on the island have already grown. With the tree protection wall, there is no need for a stone protection wall, and the mission of the stone sand protection wall has been achieved. Zhou Tu affirmed his decision. The choice of transformation was a success, and it was also correct to find people to go to the island. The efficiency of 3 people is much greater than that of 1 person. If you meet someone tomorrow, choose them, rebuild the house, and build an islander area in the distance to accommodate the Icelanders. The current level of the island master's heart is 465, with energy, 16/475. The materials required for the next upgrade are 46,500 soil and 4,750 stone. If the island is large, the best time to upgrade is during the day after a storm, as this will give the island owner some time to protect the increased island area. A large area of a euro the island is covered with yellow sand without any vegetation. The wind does not blow like the small island owner. Strong winds bring soil, and weak winds take away the soil. Both strong and weak winds can take away the soil. Of course, for him, it doesn't matter whether it's day or night. It's all the hard work of the elves. It cannot be said that the elves are suffering, but rather that they enjoy it. The current island is not the elves' previous island. The species are limited, and they can only grow some low weeds as a facade. The island he explored was not the same as the previous one. The elves would always go up to take a look when they saw lush vegetation. There are many different kinds of plants to collect, and Zhou Tu is beginning to not recognize some of them. After all, he is not a botanist. Bisha can benefit from the island becoming bigger. As an islander on the floating island, it is normal for her to contribute to the island. Zhou Tu no longer had any worries and chose to upgrade. The island area has been detected to be increasing. The current level of the island master's heart is 549, with energy, 100/559. The materials required for the next upgrade are 54,900 soil and 5,590 stone. This time the area has increased to euro 279.52 square meters. It exceeds the area of a bird's nest. The diameter is 500 meters, which is more than half of the diameter of the island where the elves were originally located. The upgrade speed is already very fast. Bisha saw the island getting bigger and flew over immediately. The diameter of the island now is half of the diameter of my island back then. Good luck, island owner. Pitaya congratulated. Yes. It's finally half the diameter of your original island. The area is nearly 240,000 square meters. If Pitaya had not seen through the hint and knew that there was Pitaya on the island and threatened to set fire to the island, Pitaya might not have come out, let alone come to his island. Alas, the spring in the forest hut has become smaller again. Pitaya said in a pretended pitiful tone. Zhou Tu tilted his head to the distance and looked at the extended land in the light of the lamp. The sand falling onto the island reduces the water circulation value, and the island area will reduce the water circulation value again. Now the water circulation value has reached more than 20. When he saw Shuideo didn't go up, Zhou Tu felt that he had been discovered by the elves. After all, he usually didn't avoid the elves when he looked at the information in the sky, so the elves should have noticed it. Now it is not enough to urge water, and we have to use a tactful approach. It really is. It felt like a big boomerang. Zhou Tu was silent for a while, then said, I want to tell you a good news. The elf flew in front of Zhou Tu and asked in a cooperative tone, what news? We're going to be in the rainy area in a few days. Really? The elf asked suspiciously. Why would I lie to you? Zhou Tu explained. Pitaya chose to believe it, and moved closer to Zhou Tu, staring at him with her big blue-green eyes. If we reach the rainy area, all the plants on the island will grow rapidly. To use the words in the book, if you plant a grain of millet in spring, you will harvest 10,000 grains in autumn. Zhou Tu's heart skipped a beat. He found a poem and many other books for Bisha to study. Now he understood. Otherwise I wouldn't be able to say such things. Not only has my farming ability improved, but my learning ability has also increased a lot. Zhou Tu raised the corner of his mouth, as if smiling, is this guy making empty promises for me? Twice the planting, 10,000 times the harvest, seems even better than the doubling system. This cake is painted very big and looks very fragrant. In this way, I am like an employee and the elf is the boss. The owner of this floating island. Weekly tour. Holiday. Bisha true looking at the elf in front of him, Zhou Tu directly pinched the elf's little face and shook it left and right, and a cool feeling came over him. Very smooth and moist, enjoy the dove flavor. You actually started to make promises to this island owner. The elf said vaguely, I am only doing this for the development of the floating island. Zhou Tu let go of the elf. He really had to eat the pie that Pitaya had drawn. In rain-stricken areas, it may be a bit exaggerated to plant twice as much and harvest 10,000 times as much, but it is really possible to plant in the morning, dry it in the sun, and harvest in the evening. For others it may be a rainstorm, but for him it is an opportunity for the rapid development of the creatures on the floating island. The most important thing is to collect plants that can increase attributes now. You will reap great rewards then. Each disaster area has its own development focus. Wind-stricken areas are madly building islands, and rain-stricken areas are madly stockpiling supplies. Does this conform to the laws of development? Zhou Tu said seriously, you are the real island owner. The owner of this floating island is called Bisha. Bisha said helplessly, you are the real island owner. I am just a small deputy island owner. I was born to work hard. Zhou Tu and Pitaya came to the world tree. The world tree was more than 15 centimeters tall, which was a bit too slow compared to other plants on the island. Bisha said, it has strong vitality and I feel it will be very useful in the future, but it grows a little slowly. I don't know when it will be really useful. Zhou Tu's eyes flickered. He had to consider Bataya's suggestion as an intelligent creature. When the island master's heart reaches level 150, energy can be used to increase soil fertility, 50 energy per square meter. This function is used to transform the land, and it appears in the bonus as early as level 150. 50 energy transformation? Give the world tree some special treatment? Seeing Zhou Tu staring at the world tree in a daze, Bisha said, I'll go and see where the expansion is first. Zhou Tu came back to his senses and said in a long voice, Thank you for your hard work, Island Master. The function of the world tree growing up has not been thought out yet, please ask for a small gift. Hello, handsome guys and pretty girls. Chapter 110. In fact, saying such things to the elves is not a complaint, it is just for jokes and to build closer relations. Although they are of different races, they are wise and will fall in love with each other as they spend more time together. He didn't want to use force against extraordinary creatures. The best option is equal communication, common interests, and making the other party do things willingly. He is in charge of external affairs, while the elves are in charge of internal affairs, which is why the floating island has developed so fast. If there were no elves as good helpers, the island would not have been able to develop so fast. The next step is to increase the number of people and improve the conversion efficiency of resources on the floating island. Setting his sights on the world tree again, Zhou Tu planned to use 50 energies to improve 1 square meter of land to increase its fertility. Since the name and the spirit indicate that the world tree is useful, let's cultivate it. Do you want to use 50 energies to improve the fertility of the floating island's soil? Yes. 50 points of energy were released at the place where the world tree took root. Soon Zhou Tu felt that the land had changed. Its color turned black, unlike the black medicinal soil he had dug before. When Zhou Tu picked up the modified black soil, it was not dry and granular like sand, but rather a bit sticky, like putting his fingers into paste. The branches and leaves of the world tree growing on the black soil tremble gently. It works. It seems to be more useful than the bonus from the elves. You have lived up to my use of energy to strengthen the land. 50 points of energy can only strengthen 1 square meter of land. When Zhou Tu thought of the more than 200,000 square meters of land, he knew that this bonus could only be regionalized and refined. The land has a strong bonus to the world tree, and the elves have a bonus to the plants themselves. The two-way bonus really makes the world tree move. Just when Zhou Tu was about to go back, the elf appeared again and said coquettishly, You are the real island owner. She was just about to plant trees and cultivate a protective forest when she felt a message coming from the world tree. This world tree has some bonus for her, it's very subtle, but not too obvious yet. She should wait until the world tree grows for a while. As the level of this island owner increases, he has more and more methods. At the beginning, this person couldn't even fly, but now he can change the nature of the land. He is worthy of being the owner of the island. Control the future development direction of the island. Are you so sensitive about the changes in the world tree? Zhou Tu said with a half smile. He was sure that this world tree had some benefits for the elves, otherwise the elves would have come over when the world tree changed just now. The elf said, Well, I always feel that the growth of this tree will be good for me, so my perception is very sharp. However, I am an elf, and I have a strong sense of special plants, including the yellow fruit tree. How do you feel about the growth of the world tree now? Will it grow taller tomorrow? Zhou Tu asked. The world tree should grow a lot tomorrow. The elf smiled. I feel that the world tree will be of great use to me, but it is still a seedling and its effects are not obvious yet. Zhou Tu nodded silently. As long as there is growth, it's fine. The bonus elves also give him a bonus, and the effect is almost the same. Maybe if the world tree grows bigger, it can help him, or the entire floating island. Bethia is only the deputy island owner, said the elf playfully. When Zhou Tu was looking at Bataya's figure, Bataya had already flown away. With the bonus turned on, the island master's heart broke through level 500. The island area has been detected to have increased, the island owner's heart has exceeded level 500, the floating island's ability has increased, and a critical hit has been unlocked. As the master of the floating island, the island owner can use a critical strike on animals that stay on the island for more than 1 hour, weakening 90% of their life forms, consuming 100 energy points and cooling down for 1 day. Seeing this bonus, Zhou Tu couldn't help but sigh that it was amazing. Noble percentage nerf. If some powerful intelligent creatures came to his island in the future and refused to leave and could not become permanent residents, he could simply weaken them and then kill them. Zhou Tu thought that he had to wait for an hour for the matter on the floating island to be absorbed by the target before he could start. This is a prerequisite. But if the creature is too powerful, with very high attributes, even if it is weakened by 90%, I may not be able to defeat it. But it's already good. If the creature is that powerful, it may be able to destroy the floating creature. Bonuses and such are just empty talk. The other bonuses are all pretty standard. The bonus at level 450 is an increase in the island owner's attributes, reaching 20, and the bonus at levels 460 to 470 is an increase in the plant and animal mutation rate to 0.2%. The bonus at levels 480 to 490 is the area, and the growth efficiency of plants and animals is increased to 60%. The level 510 bonus is a bonus to fountain water. The island owner's heart breaks through level 510, the floating island's ability increases, the spring water is enhanced, and long-term drinking can slightly improve physical fitness. A good bonus, improving physical fitness should increase attributes. The threshold for permanent bonuses to the floating island's attributes is too high. Level 510, the level is too high, many island owners in the sky will never reach this level in their lifetime. Zhou Tu felt that it was impossible for all the island owners in the rain-stricken areas to have this bonus. However, the value of potions produced on the island has also increased in disguise. If the water from other islands circulates to my island, my physical condition will be slightly improved, and the floating island will become a treasure island. As soon as Zhou Tu returned to the front of the house, he saw two people, one tall and one short, pouring water into the yard. Li Yuro shouted, "Brother is back." Shen Qinghe pushed aside her wet hair, revealing a pretty face. She stared at Zhou Tu and said, "Congratulations, the floating island has expanded in size again." Shen Qinghe's appearance is still online. Even without makeup, she is as beautiful as a lotus emerging from the water. The short-sleeved shirt she wears is very thin, revealing her arms. Her white skin is almost as white as the light on the roof. It reminded him of Yu Mengli's skin. Because of regular exercise, Yu Mengli's skin was wheat yellow and relatively tight. She gave people a wild feeling, like leopard woman. And Shen Qinghe is just weak. Zhou Tu felt his heartbeat quicken. It's windy outside, be careful not to catch a cold. Chapter 111. Lying on the bed, Zhou Tu felt a little hot in his heart. I still have to change the channel today. Synthesize the blueprint. Zhou Tu opened the island master's heart and obtained the blueprint for the shovel. Shen Qinghe had already collected them today. The island master's heart reminds you that you are about to combine the 10 shovel blueprints into one, which will consume 50 energy points. Are you sure you want to merge them? Originally, he had collected more than 10 shovel blueprints, but unfortunately, the maximum number of shovels that could be synthesized was only 10, confirmed. The island owner's heart flickered for a moment. Merge successful. Zhou Tu immediately opened the merged blueprint. If the efficiency improvement of the newly synthesized blueprint was not large, these 50 points of energy would be wasted. Fine shovel blueprint tips from the island owner's heart. The blueprint for the fine shovel is a combination of dozens of blueprints. Once the island owner has a certain level of proficiency in making the shovel, the energy consumption for making this shovel will be reduced. Is there such a thing? Zhou Tu was a little surprised. If a blueprint was given to the island master's heart to learn more, the energy consumption of making such items would be reduced. Zhou Tu looked at the materials required to make and consume the fine shovel blueprint. Steel 1, aluminum alloy 1, plastic 2. One piece of material plus a little energy can make 15 fine shovels, and the efficiency is increased to 100 times that of the original shovel. Zhou Tu, who was originally lying on the bed, suddenly jumped up from the bed with a thud. Now it has been directly increased to 100 times, and the efficiency has been greatly improved. But even if I make a shovel, the island master's heart can only make a limited number of them, and they can't be popularized by most people. Judging from the synthetic materials and the new blueprint, the shovel should have an aluminum alloy rod that is lightweight, a plastic handle for comfort, little adjustment in steel, and an enlarged shovel head. The new shovel cannot be sold like the previous one, so Zhou Tu plans to cooperate with the organization in the channel. Sign an agreement and stipulate how much soil you are allowed to hand over every day. It would be a huge loss if you sell it directly. Zhou Tu opened the channel and searched for shovel transactions in the trading channel. At first glance, one shovel holds 200 liters of soil, and the highest shovel holds no more than 400 liters of soil. Low-level items like shovels are now much less valuable. Too many people have found the blueprints, too many people have made them, and because soil is so useful, shovels that cost 200 soil are now selling poorly. The drawing merging function is unlocked at level 50, but many people have not reached level 50. Those who reach level 50 are considered very strong. It is impossible to combine 50 energy points into a shovel. If we could take out the energy, synthesize it, and make a batch of shovels, the efficiency of digging the bottom layer would be very fast. But not everyone thinks this way. Many people just want to get the most benefits, without caring about what will happen in the future. It's not efficient to spend so much energy directly. Zhou Tu understood these people very well. As the strongest leader of the island, these people will definitely say, why should I be anxious if Zhou Tu is not anxious? Those at the bottom will die, and if the sky falls, there will be someone to hold it up. This sky island world still needs me to repair it. After synthesizing the blueprint, Zhou Tu felt much calmer. The energy was also used up. Zhou Tu looked at the channel. It was time to change the channel. The island master's heart reminds you that you are about to switch the regional chat channel. Do you confirm the switch? Confirmed. Changing channels is very beneficial. You can meet a new group of people. Many people in the original chat channel have already learned how to survive. Maybe we will encounter Yu Mengli's channel and then take Yu Mengli to the island. After washing, they dried each other's hair with a hair dryer. Li Yuro suddenly said in surprise, "Sister, it's bad, my brother seems to have disappeared from the regional chat channel." At this moment, the original chat channel exploded. The people in the channel were in an uproar because the god in the channel had disappeared. Where did Zhou Tu go? Why is Zhou Tu no longer in the group list? What happened? Did Zhou Tu die? Why did he suddenly disappear from the group? It is still on the list and Tu Shen is alive and well. Tu Shen, how can I live without you? Who knows what happened to Tu Shen? I seem to have met so many people before. Did anyone go to Tu Shen's island? If you have, please say something. Shen Qinghe opened the island master's heart and took a look. Zhou Tu was indeed no longer in the original channel. She saw Zhou Tu enter the house and was right next to her, so she knew there must be nothing wrong with Zhou Tu. It's really laughable that these people speculated that Zhou Tu had fallen. The fact that he didn't disappear from the rankings proves that Zhou Tu is fine. Came to Zhou Tu's room with Li Yuro. Zhou Tu glanced at the two of them. They were dressed casually, just like his own family. After exploring the clothing store, he had everything he needed, so naturally, people who came to the island had everything they needed. One big and one small, very charming. Zhou Tu asked, "Didn't you two follow me into the new channel?" "No, we are still on the original channel." "Brother, you have entered a new channel." "Well, it's a new function that makes the island owner bigger." Zhou Tu explained. When switching to a new channel, only the main island owner's heart moves to a new area, and the deputy island owner crystal remains in the original area. If he follows the heart of the main island owner to enter the new channel, it will also count as a quota. By then, if there are 10,000 people with the heart of the island owner on his island, he will be a channel. Then what's the point of converting channels? Shen Qinghe's eyes lit up. This is a good thing. We can stay in the original channel and contact the people in this channel. You can meet new people in the new channel and the communication scope will be wider. Yes, that's right. It seems that it would be a good idea to find a few people from a channel to go to the island. The heart of the main island master can check all the situations of the hearts of these deputy island masters. Although this channel switching function looks simple, the information contained therein is very useful. By switching more channels, he can know the situations in many channels. It can replace the deputy island owner's heart to send things in other channels. These deputy island owners' hearts are vests. I can use the heart of the deputy island master to post some useful words to you in the previous group, such as promoting the things you have put on the shelves and setting the pace. Shen Qinghe said with a blink of his eyes. Zhou Tu nodded. As for whether to continue with the previous channel, he had the final say. If he wants Shen Qinghe to set the pace, then let him do it. If he doesn't want Shen Qinghe to set the pace, then he can just use Shen Qinghe's pseudonym himself. However, as Tianyi, he hardly needs to set the pace. Generally speaking, the function of switching regional channels is more important for him to find people than for business. He is already very famous and does not need too much publicity. His words are on the world channel and everyone should pay attention to them. There is absolutely no need to resort to despicable means. Brother, everyone in the channel misses you now. Li Yuro said holding her island owner's heart. There are still people discussing it in the channel. Chapter 112. There are already tens of thousands of chats here. Shen Qinghe added. It's normal for each person to have 1 or 2 chats. Zhou Tu laughed and said, the new channel I went to has also exploded now. When I came to the new channel, there was a top message on the new channel. Zhou Tu directly projected the situation of the new channel onto the wall in front of the room so that everyone could see it. Dear owner of the island of Zhou Tu, no. Gan B10086, has entered this channel on his own initiative. There is a notification for entering a new channel, but why was there no notification when we merged before? Li Yuro asked. Shen Qinghe said, because of the merger of channels, those people are like dogs that have lost their homes. The number of people in their own channels has dropped sharply. They can no longer anchor their own channels, so they merged. The weak do not need to be notified. People in the new channel are extremely enthusiastic. Their channel was reorganized many times before it became stable. Not a single one on the leaderboard. Now that Zhou Tu has come over, the most important thing is that the channel is still displayed on the screen, making it hard not to pay attention. The people in the new channel immediately noticed that Zhou Tu, a heavyweight master, had come to the channel. There is no big boss in a channel, so it keeps reorganizing. They saw people showing off in the world channel and some big guys giving advice on how to survive. Such channels are really enviable. Those people in the new channel also hope that a big boss will emerge from the channel to lead them in survival. Who is coming here? Damn, it's Tianda boss. Welcome Mr. Zhou Tu to our regional channel. It is said that everyone in the regional channel where Mr. Zhou Tu was previously located is as popular as a dragon. Please ask Mr. Zhou Tu to lead us. FK, God has descended into the regional channel. Welcome him. What does autonomous cross-channel mean? It means Zhou Tu can cross his own channel and go to other channels. Is it so terrifying when his level is high? At Zhou Tu, Tu Shen, I am your dog, please be sure to accept me. At €, if you see me, you must let me go to the island. I have just turned 18, I am chaste, pure and innocent, beautiful as a fairy, slim, handsome, can do the splits, and can do a backflip. Li Yuro's face slowly turned red as she watched these people gradually go off topic. No matter what these people said, they all stuck to her like taffy. My brother really has the physique of a succubus. This reminded her of the speech she made in Zhou Tu's channel just before she arrived. There is some difference from what these people are saying now, but not much. Of course, there is nothing wrong with speaking on the internet. After all, the internet is a lawless place now. However, she still felt a little embarrassed in front of Zhou Tu. When this day really came, she became a little reserved. Shen Qinghe saw Li Yuro's embarrassment and laughed. Some people have started looking in the mirror. Li Yuro blushed as she argued, no way. Shen Qinghe shook her hair. The little loli was not tough in other aspects except her words. The people in the channel were going crazy. When the channels were merged, the first reaction of the people in the channel was shock, and it soon developed into this state. I understand. But what did Zhou Tu think? Zhou Tu turned off the projection. I didn't expect that there would be such an announcement for autonomous cross-channel communication. It's simply outrageous. You know I'm actually a low-key person. Tianyi, your goal is too big. Being low-key is also high-key. Shen Qinghe said with a slight smile. There's nothing we can do about it. Zhou Tu glanced at the time and saw that it was almost midnight, so he urged, it's getting late, go back to bed, get up early tomorrow, and do your own work. Shen Qinghe turned around and asked, when will you start? Although our bonus is less, we can't drag the island owner down too much. About 4 o'clock. Zhou Tu replied, turn off the lights when you leave. Okay. Shen Qinghe said cheerfully, turned off the lights, and pulled Li Yuro out. Sister, you only know how to make fun of me. Li Yuro said indignantly after returning to the room where they lived, I just lost face in front of brother Zhou Tu. Woo woo woo. Li Yuro sat on the bed and beat the quilt. Where did your energy in the channel go? Shen Qinghe turned off the lights. You should be able to fall asleep by yourself today, right? Now that I have a bed, I don't want to sleep with you in my arms anymore. I can today. After a while, Li Yuro whispered again, brother has posted 10 blueprints in the channel to merge, which can be combined to create a shovel that is more efficient in digging. Brother Zhou Tu is really good. He always posts good news to the channel. These people really need to thank him. There are still people who don't know what's good for them and curse him in the channel. They are really stupid. Without him, many people would have died. He is already doing well. Shen Qinghe opened the island master's heart and felt a surge of emotion. It was already early morning, and this message was obviously sent by Zhou Tu using the free loudspeaker. Synthesis blueprint can increase efficiency by 100%, is that so awesome? It can be unlocked on level 50 islands. I am only level 36 now. Has anyone tried it if they are level 50? This kind of efficient shovel should be the most powerful digging shovel. I am willing to buy it. 2 Shen, although there is a lot of energy, the number of shovels produced is limited. Can the level 50 bosses make some for everyone? This way, the efficiency of the lower level island owners will be higher. Zhou Tu announced this news, still wanting to suck the blood of the lower class. Seeing that the efficiency of the lower class was too low, he finally announced it. He is really sinister. Tushan 666 is much better than some hypocrites. I really don't know why some people are cursing here after they have benefited from the information revealed by Zhou Tu. 100% efficiency, damn, too strong. Tushan, continue to sell shovels, I won't say anything if they are higher this time. Shen Qinghe silently flipped through the chat and then turned off the island master's heart. Most of the people in the channel are short-sighted. However, although you can synthesize blueprints at level 50 to increase the digging efficiency of the shovel, the threshold is still very high. Now on the heavenly ranking, the 100th Danka has just reached level 50. It takes 50 points of energy to synthesize the blueprint, and you can only make a few after synthesizing it. It is not enough to just synthesize the blueprint, the subsequent matters also need to be considered. Behind each person on the list is a team. It depends on whether these people have the courage to work together and whether they consider what will happen next. Xiao Ro, it's time to go to bed. You still have a lot of things to do tomorrow. Shen Qinghe urged. Oh. Sister. I'm going to sleep now. An hour later, Shen Qinghe got up secretly. She heard Li Yuro's gentle breathing. Xiao Ro, Xiao Ro. Shen Qinghe called softly. Li Yuro didn't react. Shen Qinghe turned over and got out of bed. When she closed the door, she didn't close it tightly. She pulled it gently and the door of the suite opened without any sound. Gently close the lock and it will make a slight sound. When she came to Zhou Tu's bed, she found that Zhou Tu was awake. Zhou Tu looked at Shen Qinghe, who tiptoed to his bed like a thief, and whispered, what are you doing? Chapter 113. Shen Qinghe, I want to be a nurse. In the darkness, Zhou Tu's eyes were somewhat frozen. At the beginning, he didn't have much good feelings towards Shen Qinghe, who was a sophisticated and selfish woman. Things are developing too fast now. If it weren't for the distrust between people, he would not have chosen Shen Qinghe. The rapid development forced him to find someone he was more familiar with. If Yu Mengli was in this channel, he would look for Yu Mengli. Now when Shen Qinghe touches his bedside at night, she feels that he is a bit scheming and doesn't know what will happen in the future. After his heart raced, Zhou Tu decided not to let go of the good girls and not to waste the bad girls. With the confidence brought by the island owner's heart, he has nothing to fear. Touching the soft quilt, this is the new quilt cover that Shen Qinghe changed. Shen Qinghe was changing the bed sheets and tidying the room, and she had been planning something bad to me. Zhou Tu lifted a corner of the quilt. He was not afraid of the scheming woman, so he patted the edge of the bed to signal. Shen Qinghe gently slid into Zhou Tu's bed. Zhou Tu hugged Shen Qinghe and asked, is Zyro asleep? Shen Qinghe exhaled and whispered softly in Zhou Tu's ear, asleep. Zhou Tu only felt the scent of shower gel coming towards him, and with the soft jade in his arms, he unconsciously shot out his gun like a dragon. In the morning, just as the sky was getting light, the three of them had already started working. Zhou Tu has explored several islands. After Li Yuro finished boiling the potion, she was about to cook. Sister, you walked so strangely today, it felt a little awkward. Shen Qinghe said calmly, ah. I sprained my ankle when I got up at night and it hurts a bit. Li Yuro asked with concern, do you want some medicine? Brother Zhou Tu appointed me as the pharmacist of the floating island. No, it will be fine in a moment. Okay then. Li Yuro said while holding a pot, I feel like my sister is talking strangely today. Is there? Shen Qinghe said. It's just a feeling. Li Euro said, I saw some turtles near the spring. How about we make turtle soup today? Aren't you making mushroom soup? After I finish making the mushroom soup, I'll go try it in the forest. Make turtle soup. Shen Qinghe seemed to have thought of something. Wouldn't Zhou Tu drink it if Li Euro made it? Let's make it in 2 days. Li Euro was impulsive and wanted to eat everything she saw, without considering whether her elder sister could bear it. Okay then. I'll listen to my sister. Li Euro said with a pout. In fact, she had this idea when she saw the turtle soup, but she never expected that her sister would object. My sister feels so weird today. There's some feeling I can't describe. Forget it, I can make wild vegetable soup today. Bataya seems to have grown some wild vegetables in the woods. The wild vegetables that have just emerged are very tender. The soup should be very good. The current level of the island master's heart is 549, and the energy is 546/559. Zhou Tu explored several islands without any good results. Some islands are infested with herds of wild beasts, and some are completely off limits. Although my island is large, its defenses really need to be strengthened. Now as the island gets bigger, the time it takes to reach other islands has reached 6 hours. There is enough time to fight the monsters and collect the spoils. If the time was too short, Zhou Tu would have to worry about not having enough time to defeat the monsters living in groups and get the spoils. Now that the island owner's heart has increased, the docking capacity has increased to 6 hours, which provides a lot more time. To strengthen the attack, you can try to attack group animals to get better things. Zhou Tu was just about to continue exploring the island. Zhang Yiwei sent a message. Zhou Tu took a look at the message and intercepted it without showing it to Shen Qinghe. Tushan, the channel you are on now has my niece, Zhang Yunji. If you meet her, please help her and let her come to your island. It is too dangerous for a girl to be in the sky. I, Zhang Yiwei, owe you a favor. Zhang Yiwei's niece. As expected, the sky world could not escape the human relations, and the interests between him and Zhang Yiwei's organization were still deeply entangled. As for wanting to let others go to the island, this was something that had already been thought of a long time ago. After all, there are too many things to do on the island. 2 or 3 people are far from enough. If the person is recommended by an acquaintance, there is a certain basis of trust. A favor for nothing. Okay, I'll take a look today, but it still depends on luck. If I don't see it, there's nothing I can do. He did not agree to die. After all, the weight of different people was different in his heart. If you are lucky, you will meet him. If you are unlucky, just forget it. Not everyone is worth spending so much money to find. I have already established a communication channel with the top 20 island owners. I wonder if anyone else has any recommendations. However, meeting someone in such a vast crowd does require some luck. As Tianyi, he can change channels. Therefore, Zhou Tu concluded that the greater the ability, the better the luck. Zhang Yiwei, if she can't meet you, there is nothing you can do. Sometimes the sky depends on luck. Besides, whether you can meet her or not, thank Tushan for his promise. Okay. After saying that, Zhou Tu activated the authority to delete the conversation, and then entrusted it to Shen Qinghe. If I hadn't seen any news about Zhang Yiwei, it would probably still be Shen Qinghe who was in charge. If you see it, just intercept it. After last night, my mentality is different. Am I still a bit of a warm-hearted guy? You mentally can only experience my brotherly side. Zhou Tu looked at the energy which was almost full. Make a rough plan. Today we need to set aside 100 energy points to capture the island. Now that the satellite island function has been released, we need to use it. Now at level 549, you can capture an island with a diameter of about 54.9 meters. The types of islands we encounter now are complex, so we still need to consider what kind of islands to capture. It needs to be usable for a long time and have high value, so it can be used as a satellite island. He couldn't consume 100 energy points every day to capture a meaningless satellite island. Another thing is to make a fine shovel. Cultivate a group of people who belong to you and obey your command. In addition to cooperating with other major island owners, Zhou Tu also plans to set up his own organization. This organization only does one thing every day, which is digging soil. They go to dig soil on any island and become professional diggers. Thanks to all the readers for pointing out the problems with the data. The engineer shovel has been upgraded to a premium shovel, which increases the digging efficiency by 100 times and enhances the efficiency of soil production for the Skybase island owner. There is still a lot of data in this book. Sometimes my mind is a mess. You can even say that the author learned mathematics from a physical education teacher. Chapter 114. Zhou Tu didn't know how the people on other islands united together. Rely on faith? Or vision? How can Sky World be loyal? Zhou Tu felt it was difficult, extremely difficult. Even in an organization like Zhang Yiwei's, people kept leaving. It is common to see people posting blacklists in the channel, which gave rise to things like Sky Hunting Order. The Sky Hunt Order is to eliminate the person wanted by the other side, usually using soil and stone to settle the matter. But there is also a problem, that is, what to do if the reward is not settled after killing the island owner who provided the information to the other party. People are equally skeptical about this kind of organization, and trust is always in the air around everyone. Human weakness is inevitable, but Zhou Tu has his own way. My island now has all the necessary conditions. The high island owner rating is the best publicity. Any island owner with a normal mind will be bound to this huge floating island of mine after I send out an invitation. There is no eternal loyalty, but there are consistent and eternal interests. As long as there are interests tied together, we will keep going. Establishing our own organization will be a natural outcome. Zhou Tu's confidence in himself is of course based on his ability to see through the information of the floating island. He had already seen agility-enhancing potion formulas, endurance-enhancing potion formulas, and plants and animals with enhanced attributes on the strange floating island. These were all special products. Once the floating island's attack capabilities are built up, you can try to defeat monsters and obtain these things. You can see through the floating island, so there will be more good things on the island. These good things are the sweet dates hooked in front of everyone. If you want them, you have to go with them. Strength boosting potion is just one of its common products, but not the only one. Zhou Tu opened the channel to see the feedback from the strength enhancing potion. Qian Yuntian, yesterday, everyone took drugs and conquered an island with mutant cows. Thanks to Tu Shen for the strength enhancing potion, it's very good. The beef has been sent to Tuju, please check it. I need some more strength enhancing potions today, which are very useful. Shi Yuran, I just bought a strength enhancement potion and killed a stupid spore. If I sell some meat in the channel, the potion will pay for itself. Boss, please check it out. I traded it to you for the roe deer leg. KGIEI, Tu Shen is awesome, Tu Shen is awesome, Tu Shen is awesome, I have to say this 3 times because it is important. With this potion, my brother killed the sky bandits who landed on the island. It is awesome no matter how hard I try. Zhang Yiwei's organization actually saw the animal island and directly launched an island landing operation. As expected, an organization with a good foundation is also strong in a completely unfamiliar world. It is unmatched by other organizations. It is foreseeable that this will also be a giant in the future. There is not much jealousy on the journey. The sky is colorful because there is a large organization walking together and exchanging information. As for Shi Yuran, this guy was his early friend. Unexpectedly, he had good luck. Now the island level has reached 40, the development is pretty good, and I have also brought a woman to the island. Even Ruan Yuchen was doing well. His early friends sent him messages almost every day, and he got a lot of hidden benefits. As for the counterattack against the person who landed on the sky island, this is a normal operation. The attributes of his island have skyrocketed and he can break a tree with one punch. With a 5-point bonus to the strength attribute, even an ordinary person can become stronger when punching. Strength enhancing potions are useful, it just depends on how you use them. Switching to the world channel, Zhou Tu searched for the keyword strength increase. Is Tushen's strength enhancing potion really useful? I heard that the strength potion amplification has side effects, please tell me about it. 1000 soils, such a small amount, it would be strange if anyone would buy it. Zhou Tu is a black-hearted person, can you lower the price of the medicine? It's useful, just buy it. When you encounter monsters, more attributes will increase your chances of safety. It's too expensive, and it's a consumable item. It's said that it doesn't last long. I'd better just dig the soil. Those who trust me have achieved success with my medicine, while those who don't trust me are still asking if it works. There's a reason why these people in the sky can't compare to these big organizations. They're just a bunch of rabble, and they can't even eat hot shit. Even a lone wolf like me needs to unite a group of people. How can these people who don't have any skills develop in the sky? Zhou Tu looked at the speech expressionlessly. Sky hunting order, kill Yu Kidong, and you can come to me, Zhou Heidong, to get 10,000 units of soil. Zhou Tu turned off the chat. Zhou Heidong was ranked around 40th on the heavenly ranking and had chatted with him privately, but he ignored him. One reason was that the other party was not qualified enough for development, and the other was that he lacked energy. In the sky, cats have their own ways, and mice have their own ways. After thinking about it, Zhou Tu directly approved the requests of all the people in the top 100 of the heavenly ranking. Now that the energy is there, we need to build relationships with these capable organizations. How can you be number 1 on the heavenly ranking if you harvest people from the lower classes every day? It was difficult for the small island owners to obtain soil. Zhou Tu felt that if they used their soil to expand the island, the crops grown on the island would taste bitter. A large part of the soil produced by the small island owner flows into the hands of these top people. Getting soil from the top people is both convenient and quick. The brood potion can be directly packed into barrels. Collecting soil in units of 100,000 is also labor-saving for the little Lolita to pack the potion. The lower-level island owners lack vision and courage. The potions are selling like hotcakes among the big island owners with discounts, but they are not selling well on the Sky World channel. I will use these high-level people to harvest the lower-level people, and then I will use the renewable resources generated on the islands to subsidize the lower-level islands. All the benefits and reputation will belong to me. Bringing good things to high-level island owners can enhance their exploration capabilities and their own strength. Bringing cheap things to the lower-level island owners can enhance the survival ability of the small island owners, and keeping the small land of the small island owners is also profitable in the long run. Even if the island owner intercepts 1 unit of soil or plants a tree, it is still means of production. You make money both at the top and the bottom, a win-win situation. Every island owner in the sky will praise my good name, and the reputation of Tushen will spread throughout the sky. Zhou Tu doesn't care if he doesn't want to increase his own strength, the result will tell him everything. Before Shen King he could react, she saw many more friends on her Diddy chat page. I added so many friends today. Does Zhou Tu attach so much importance to human resources? Shen King he didn't quite understand Zhou Tu's thoughts. Soon she saw Zhou Tu coming. Are you okay? Shen Qinghe knew what Zhou Tu meant and replied, not bad. The friends I added today are all the top 100 island owners. We negotiated with them about our power potion business. It's too inefficient to sell things one by one in the channel. If you negotiate with these island owners, you can get a good harvest in one day, and it won't be as tedious as yesterday. It turned out to be for me. A warm feeling flowed through Shen Qinghe's heart. What Zhou Tu did reduced a lot of her workload. Shen Qinghe nodded gently, yet. Chapter 115. Unexpectedly, Zhou Tu is still a male chauvinist. He said yesterday that the workload was too heavy, so he came to reduce the burden today. Shen Qinghe was very happy. Zhou Tu didn't know what Shen Qinghe was thinking. If he knew what Shen Qinghe was thinking at this moment, he would definitely call her a love-brained person. Zhou Tu still tried his best to maintain good relationships. Only when the other party is willing to contribute can he work efficiently, just like an elf. Of course, getting the other person's body is one aspect. He doesn't want Shen Qinghe to only focus on his achievements. Also, look for my fans in the world channel. Isn't there a fanatic organization called Tu Shen in the channel? Contact them and I will get 20 friends every day. I will make a fine shovel to test the waters. This organization is his admirers. Ever since he became successful and his island owner points exceeded 500,000, they began to howl and flatter him in the channel every day. As his island's rating exceeded 25 million, these people's voices grew louder. Because these people are tap water, praising Zhou Tu crazily, they are attacked by other people in the channel as a suck-up organization, Zhou Tu's suck-up, and Zhou Tu's dog. Zhou Tu now wants to use practical actions to tell other people who look down on him and lick him that licking him is still useful. With the thought in my mind, the fate of a certain island owner in the sky may change forever. Let's start by distributing premium shovels. Shen Qinghe was a little confused. Are you sure you want to give them a place? Yesterday Zhou Tu asked her to screen the talents in the channel, which was understandable. But today he asked her to take care of the tap water. Why does it feel like Zhou Tu is doing things strangely and I can't understand it at all? She had seen the conversations of those people in Zhou Tu's tap water, and they were simply a little crazy. Shen Qinghe glanced at the island owner's crystal, and someone was arguing, my brother Zhou Tu, the island score is over 25 million, what achievements have you made to attack him? You lickers are simply brain dead. He doesn't even look at you, but you are still licking him like a dog. Is he your father? Do you dare to say that you didn't hear what Zhou Tu said about making changes to the floating island? If you get benefits, be honest. Yes, he is my father. When I see him, I will kneel down and call him daddy. What's wrong? Isn't he the big daddy of the sky? Who are you to bark here? Shen Qinghe felt his scalp tingling. Watch the channel. Your fans are crazy. Zhou Tu took a quick look and thought, these people in the channel are indeed a little crazy. Crazy is a nice way of saying it, a more rude word is brain dead. But it feels great. We need to find 20 of these people every day, give them high-quality shovels, and tell them to hand in 5,000 units of soil before dark every day. The shovel with a 100-fold bonus must be put to full use. He does not intend to sell it, and the talks with other organizations are in the form of daily dividends. How could he directly use energy to synthesize a high-efficiency shovel, make it with energy, and then buy it out to these organizations at once? If we buy it out, we will consume his energy and give it to these big island owners for free. If you don't want him to suck your blood, just synthesize and make it yourself. This is an open conspiracy to force these big island owners to mass-produce high-quality shovels. No matter which group of people increases their output, he has the ability to obtain the soil in the hands of the other party. The fundamental reason is his own golden finger. Shen Qinghe said, hand in 5,000 every day? It seems like they are really stupid. Zhou Tu, I wouldn't be crazy to use it. Just treat it as an investment to test the waters. This kind of devoted person is exactly the kind of person he wants to use. If you dig 5,000 tons of mud carefully with the current efficiency of the shovel, you can even finish digging it in an hour if you encounter a mud island. It is still fast if you are steady. Shen Qinghe felt that Zhou Tu's decision was really unexpected, but on second thought, it was indeed unlikely that such a crazy person would betray her. Besides, these people are so crazy, aren't they just like me? Okay, these people are easy to screen, and I'll make a list later. At this time, little lowly Li Euro shouted, Brother Zhou Tu, sister is ready to eat. Brother Zhou Tu, why are so many people giving you gifts? Li Euro asked while eating. I sold the strength-enhancing potion yesterday, and today many people came to trade with me, bringing in some strange animal meat. It feels like the box refrigerator is not big enough. You can't finish this stuff even if you lie down for a day. Many people are using potions for the first time. Why are they all giving gifts to my brother? Zhou Tu said, maintain the relationship. The sky is not always full of fighting and plundering. Shen Qinghe added, because your brother's island is too big and has a lot of supplies, you need to know the formula. Since the supplies were obtained with the amplification potion, you should naturally express it, so that your brother will remember it. I see. Do these people have the same idea as me, wanting to curry favor with someone powerful? Some of them said that their meat can slightly increase the properties. Shen Qinghe looked at Zhou Tu. She had not come across many items that increased attributes. She had only heard Zhou Tu talk about some of them yesterday. If you can increase your attributes, eat the meat that can increase your attributes first. There are few items in the sky that can increase your attributes, and the increase in attributes is also very slow. Potions can stimulate the body to increase its burst. Long-term enhancement requires various rare materials, such as the yellow flower fruit tree in the medicine field. Li Euro said, I said the fruit trees in the medicinal field were a little peculiar, it turns out they are things that increase properties. Zhou Tu reminded, when the time comes, you can soak the honey I made in water and drink it to increase its properties. He told Shen Qinghe to pay attention to collecting special plants on the channel. If he collected special plant seeds, he would also make money. Zhou Tu came to the medicinal field. With the blessing of the elves, the fruits of the yellow fruit tree have grown a little. Before, there were poisonous bees collecting nectar, but now the flowers on the fruit heads have fallen off. The fruits are the size of ping pong balls and are green with yellow in color. After thinking about it, Zhou Tu decided to use land enhancement, which consumed 50 points of energy. In the past, I couldn't afford to use my energy to do something that didn't bring me much immediate benefit, but now I can. With the help of the elves, the fruits grow very quickly in rounds. Not only can their attributes be increased, but they can also be sold in exchange for soil, so it's a win-win situation. I didn't see what the elf was doing. Zhou Tu started the island exploration. After several explorations, Zhou Tu's eyes lit up. Moving downwards, we see a small island, shaped like a pillar supporting the sky. In the ice there is a frozen coffin, and inside the coffin there is a faint life. Chapter 116. Is there a faint life? It is somewhat unexpected that there is still a faint life in the frozen land. This should still be an extraordinary creature. Zhou Tu reasonably speculated that otherwise it would be impossible for him to survive for such a long time, the only explanation was that he was an extraordinary life. But Zhou Tu was not afraid and he still had to go to the island. After all, our own island is also short of water. If we can bring a small island, we will not be too short of water when the heavy rain comes. There is a percentage weakening, so even if this extraordinary creature wakes up, he can directly suppress it and weaken its vital signs. I chose to go to this small island. The docking area is a mechanical area that can protect the island spawned by the elves from frostbite. Soon, an icicle more than 50 meters high appeared in Zhou Tu's eyes, coming quickly from far away. The whole ice island appears as a rectangle from a distance, with a diameter of 50 meters. The bottom of the floating island is also about 25 meters. The icicles are very high, like a big white popsicle. As for the coffin inside, the popsicle was not extremely transparent, but rather a thick white, so that the objects inside could not be seen at all. If it weren't for the information prompt, he might have thought it was an ordinary Iceland. Standing 10 meters away from the edge of the island, Zhou Tu felt a chill coming towards him, like biting an ice cream in his mouth, and he shivered uncomfortably. Zhou Tu directly started to increase his attributes. His endurance attribute directly increased by 20 points, and he immediately felt the cold disappear. He felt that he was much more resistant to cold, and the feeling of cold disappeared immediately. The endurance attribute is useful. In a sense, having high attributes does make it easier to survive in the sky. The subsequent bonus further improves the attribute bonus, which is very useful. Pay attention to the permanent improvement of attributes in the future. Iceland's arrival attracted the attention of the 3 Icelanders and the elf. Brother Zhou Tu, we have encountered a big popsicle island this time. It's a pity that we can't go up to pump water. Li Euro sighed in the distance. She couldn't get too close to Iceland. Shen Qinghe also said, it would be great if we could make this floating island a part of ours. Zhou Tu chuckled. He had not yet announced the bonus for level 400. A level that high would not make much sense for the island owners in the sky. He would only consider it if big island owners like Zhang Yiwei asked him. Then let this island become part of our floating island. The satellite island opened at level 400 can capture floating islands of a certain diameter. Li Euro's eyes widened, her black and white pupils moving. Really? Satellite islands, floating islands have grown to this size and have this function. When she came to Zhou Tu's island, she naturally hoped that Zhou Tu's island would become better and better. Every time the size of the islands around her increased, she became very excited and would often check the island ratings. Consume 100 energy on the journey and start capturing the opposite Iceland. The island owner's heart prompts that the floating island opposite is suitable for capture. Do you want to spend 100 points of energy to capture it and make it a satellite island of this floating island? Yes. The floating island trembled slightly, and Iceland seemed to be sucked by the floating island. The 2 women didn't have much feeling. Zhou Tu felt that the core of the floating island seemed to emit a burst of energy, acting on the ice island opposite. Pull the opposite island. It seems that something like gravity binds Iceland, just like the relationship between the Earth and the Moon. It seems to be really tied up. The 2 women looked happy. Bataya was thoughtful. Zhou Tu saw that the island owner's heart simulated the relationship between a floating island and Iceland. The farthest distance he can adjust between Iceland and the floating island is 559 meters, and the shortest distance is right next to it. You can set Iceland to hover and revolve. Zhou Tu smacked his lips and said, it's a pity that Iceland can only rotate along the axis derived from the horizon of the floating island to keep it consistent with the horizon of the floating island. It would be great if we could get around the floating island. Zhou Tu chose Iceland, which was next to the edge of the mechanical area of a his floating island. If Iceland is next to this floating island, the floating island and Iceland can be seen as a whole. If we are close to each other, the other side's water will be incorporated into this floating island. Zhou Tu thought for a while and turned on the island's water circulation. At this moment, the water circulation value soared to 186.4. Zhou Tu arrived at the spring and found that the spring had not grown noticeably larger. This ice island next to each other is like a water-filled treasure. As long as the ice island melts, the water will be absorbed by the floating island. This saves us the trouble of fetching water. There is Iceland and there is Fire Island. If there is one more satellite island in the future, and an Iceland and a Fire Island are captured at the same time, it will be a duo of ice and fire, or two worlds of ice and fire. Zhou Tu was still very satisfied with the capture function. In the future, you can capture islands of the type that you need. There are too many types of islands you encounter now, such as iron ore islands, copper ore islands, gold ore islands, agate islands. If you encounter a mechanical area in the future, you can capture such an island for development. Looking at Bisha next to him, Zhou Tu said with a smile, we don't have to worry about the island's water shortage in the short term. Bisha chuckled and asked, are you sure? Zhou Tu put away his smile. Is Bisha hiding something? With a circulation value of 180, there shouldn't be a shortage of water resources. Could it be that the world tree was influencing Bisha, and that Bisha had made a breakthrough in some aspect at this moment? The ability to stimulate plant growth has increased? Sure. Zhou Tu looked confident. Even if it was not enough, he could just continue exploring Water Island. Bethia could help the plants grow, so he, as the owner of the island, would not lose out. Then wait and see, my Lord Island Master. Bethia is confident. Zhou Tu ended his conversation with Bethia. Li Euro said in surprise, brother, the island owner's rating has exceeded 30 million. Zhou Tu glanced at his island and saw that its rating had reached over 30 million. It can only be described in 4 words. Ahead by a wide margin. Moreover, the water melted from Iceland is stimulated by the elves and added to the circulation of the floating island, and the island score will increase rapidly again. Zhang Yiwei's island owner rating was only 2 million, but after conquering Monster Island, Zhang Yiwei also gained a lot. But for him, the gap was too far. The difference in island area leads to a difference in energy level, which is not easy to catch up with or smooth out. I wonder how long it will take for this big popsicle to melt. There's still a life inside it. This life also accounts for the score. I hope there will be a prize when I open the lid. Chapter 117. Zhou Tu was still looking forward to the life inside the coffin. After all, it was the first time that the coffin lid was opened, and the others were all treasure chest lids. We have already received 1.5 million tons of soil. Shen King he came over and said, trading with large organizations is very efficient. My strategy was correct. Zhou Tu determined that the strategy of using the island owner's heart energy to circulate within the island was correct. The amount of soil harvested now is also increasing without the need for energy. Today he did not use his energy to make a large number of shovels, but instead prepared shovels for himself to train people, and then talked to other organizations about digging. Among the organizations he came into contact with, many had their own digging teams, so it was very necessary for him to form his own digging team. Be prepared so that if you fall out with someone in the future, it will not affect your guaranteed income. As the first island owner, you cannot rely solely on other organizations. If you are not independent, you will still be restricted in many ways. It seems that various organizations are very supportive of my strength-enhancing potion. Zhou Tu's eyes flickered. He had encountered islands with other formulas. If these formulas could be mastered, there would be multiple pharmaceutical production lines on the islands, and the industry would be more complete. Yes, now all organizations are exploring the power-enhancing potion. The improvement is very obvious. Many organizations have traded some meat for us this morning. It will take us 3 years to eat it. Shen King he couldn't help but sigh. On her own island, she couldn't even get any food. But when she came to Zhou Tu's island, there was so much meat that she couldn't finish it all, and she also had Kun Yang. She was so happy. If you can't eat it, you can sell the meat that doesn't add attributes. The right way is to sell it on the trading channel and convert it into resources. Of course, such a hot-selling medicine is ultimately a monopoly. But even if others find the formula, there are still barriers. They need raw materials. With Bisha, almost no one can compete with him. Almost all the time, our power-enhancing potions occupy the sky world. Shen King he suggested, monopoly is great. I think we can raise the price. Zhou Tu shook his head, don't dig up the roots when you cut leeks. On the contrary, you need to cultivate them more in the future. Take your island for example. I will sell you 1000 soils with the strength potion. Do you want it? The strength potion is not a necessity. Shen King he was speechless for a moment. The more he interacted with Zhou Tu, the more confused he felt. Giving shovels to the brainless followers, selling them cheaply even though they have a monopoly, and revealing very useful information in the channel, isn't that too kind? You are the light in the sky. However, Zhou Tu is Tianyi, and Zhou Tu's island can develop rapidly without him. Shen King he clearly defined her own position and did a good job as an assistant secretary. She often reminded herself of the tasks given by Zhou Tu and it was her responsibility to report the progress in a timely manner. It is better not to interrupt when it comes to decision-making. Wanting to understand his position, Shen King he said, I have collected a large number of strange seeds in the channel. Do you want to give them to Bisha? Even though Zhou Tu had mentioned collecting seeds before, she focused on Zhou Tu instead of Bethia. When she came here, she had seen from the details that Bethia's farming seemed to improve her development. These strange seeds need to be discussed with Zhou Tu to see whether he really wants Bethia to grow quickly. Send it over and let her train it quickly. We're lucky if we can cultivate plants with added attributes. In the sky world, attributes are still very important, just like the iceberg we just came to. My attributes are high, so I can stand in front of the iceberg, but your attributes are low, so you can only watch from afar. By analogy, no matter it is wind, rain, thunder, lightning, fire, or ice, the higher the attribute, the higher the survival rate. Finally, don't exclude Bisha. Okay. Shen Qinghe replied. She found that Zhou Tu's eyes were very sharp, as if he could see through people's hearts. Zhou Tu narrowed his eyes slightly, feeling that Shen Qinghe was a little wary of Bethia, but this was normal. He was the same at the beginning. Maybe Shen Qinghe was more repulsive to elves. The reason is that elves are actually female. But it doesn't matter, it can be changed slowly. Zhou Tu looked at his energy and there was only 213 left. Capturing islands, strengthening the soil, passing the top 100 people on the points ranking list, and connecting with people in the organization, all these energy consumptions are auxiliary to obtaining the soil. The assistance alone consumes so much energy. I already have a lot of energy, but it still feels like it's not enough. The current level of the Island Master's heart is 549, with energy, 213/559. The materials required for the next upgrade are 54,900 soil and 5,590 stone. 1.5 million soil can only be upgraded to level 561, and more than 60,000 stones are consumed. Once these stones were consumed, there were very few of the previously accumulated stones left. Only a small amount of the previous sand-proof wall remained, standing in the biological area of A the floating island. It seems to be saying that there once was a huge sand-proof wall here. It is no longer easy to exchange stones in the channel. It was easy to obtain them before because the island owners needed too little stones in the early stages. Now that the islands are getting bigger, people are getting more and more demanding on stone, the most basic consumable. Although stone can be obtained by picking up stones, it is still a little more difficult than digging soil, so the owner of the Sky Island has also begun to hoard it. Zhou Tu chose to put the upgrade on hold and wait for the storm. He would then take a look at the water content of the sand carried by the storm, announce the news, and let the island owners in the channel make some preparations. Whether it is preparation in reality or psychologically, don't let the leaks suffer too much. At the same time, he said to Shen Qinghe, stones are starting to become scarce now. Give us some of the strength-enhancing potions in exchange for stones. How much in exchange? 5 million units. Ah. 5 million. Shen Qinghe was secretly shocked. When he came to Zhou Tu, basic materials were traded in units of 10,000, but wasn't 5 million too much? The young island owner had never thought of such a large transaction volume. Although she was confused, she kept her mouth shut. Seeing Shen Qinghe's confusion, Zhou Tu explained, now, for an upgrade, the stone materials are almost 6,000. 5 million is not much at our upgrade speed. A few storms will be enough. Other island owners are also hoarding stone materials. It will become increasingly difficult to exchange them in the future. We can pay a higher price now. I understand. Shen Qinghe said admiringly, I still need to follow you, the great island master, to broaden my horizons. Besides, the materials for the light prism tower have been collected. Chapter 118. Finally all the materials have been gathered. It's not easy. However, building a light prism tower requires a continuous voltage of 3000 volts. The current voltage is not up to standard, and a wind turbine cannot power a light prism tower at all. Advanced weapons require matching mechanical support, it is not the case that they can be activated just by making the materials. Just like after he found the gun, he didn't have many bullets, and the light prism tower needed the support of other facilities to start. However, the fact that he could drive a weapon like the light prism tower proved that his mechanical area had matured a lot. In general, the mechanical area has not developed as smoothly as the biological area. Zhou Tu opened the chat channel and searched for things related to electronic devices. But the news that touted him has already appeared in the eyes. What is Tushan Island like? Why is it rated so high? I really want to see Tushan Island. 3,000 million ratings, I only got 100,000 ratings. Tushan seemed to have met a lot of people in the channel before. Did he find someone to go to the island? Who is this lucky person? Zhou Tu smiled gently. Wherever a strong man sees, he receives praise. His original purpose was to collect information on whether there was a market for electronic equipment, but when he saw people in the channel talking about him, he couldn't help but peek a little longer. I am indeed a vain person. Everyone loves to hear good words. Zhou Tu silently warned himself not to lose himself in the language of these people. Believers can be fanatical or brain dead, but I cannot get carried away. Developing the islands is the hard truth. We must forge ahead and never forget our original intention. Search for electronic devices. Good news, I found my phone and tablet. Bad news, there is no battery. What's the use of this rice cooker? There's no rice, no electricity, no water, nothing. It seems like the big guys have everything. I found the computer, but I don't know if there are any PN movies in it. Damn, I can't turn it on. I need electricity but there is no electricity. What do I need electronic products for? I am speechless. I want to play with my phone now. I am addicted to it but there is no electricity. Many people found electronic products, but the problem they faced was that there was no electricity. %S1 at this also fully proves that charging also has a broad market. The time is ripe to build a power generation array. The island is large enough, the wind resources in the sky are abundant, people have discovered more materials, and the charging market is gradually maturing. Collect the transformer blueprints, and also collect some of the materials needed for the generator. See if there are any large battery blueprints. Zhou Tu gave Shen Qinghe a list of important materials to exchange. Shen Qinghe is the steward of supplies on the island, and Zhou Tu is training Shen Qinghe in this direction. Why are you looking at me? Go get some work done. I just feel that serious men are handsome. Shen Qinghe's eyes lit up. Zhou Tu didn't look at Shen Qinghe. This woman changed so quickly. She was like two different people when she ate kun and when she didn't. Go to work. Zhou Tu looked at the information he received and was faced with a huge choice again. All 6 directions were in danger. Move forward to the floating island, the wild boar island. There is a group of wild boars on this island. You can find a safflower tree. The safflower tree can increase attributes, but the wild boar's fangs are very long and very wild. If you connect with the opposite wild boar, it will rush into the island, which is very dangerous. Move to the left floating island, a tropical rainforest island, very large, extremely dangerous, too many to show, landing on the island will definitely lead to death. Move to the right floating island, an extremely cold island with a group of giant white bears on it. You are no match for them. Under the snow, there is an energy stone transformation array. This array can change the form of matter. They rely on the transformation array to survive. Move back to the floating island, where you will see a large group of machines. Here you can see robots like Li Biatian and Bumblebee. You can dock them, but once you step in, they will be raised to the ground. Defeat them and you can get the blueprints for making large machines. Move the floating island upwards, there are energy-type creatures spawned by energy crystals. They are unconscious and have extremely powerful attacks. Docking will also cause huge material losses on the island, which is very dangerous. Of course, if you can defeat these energy-type creatures, you can obtain a huge amount of energy stones. Move downwards to the floating island, the bone burial ground. Because of the underground energy, it can give rise to a huge amount of bones, the undead plague. The other party will also land when they connect. Zhou Tu was silent. The larger the island, the larger the unfamiliar islands he encountered, and the more strange things he encountered. Energy crystals are indeed a special energy source in the sky, perhaps a kind of magic technology. Zhou Tu stroked the island owner's heart. Even the island owner's heart was a kind of energy crystal. A huge amount of energy stones were mines, but they could also give birth to energy creatures. It's dangerous to encounter an island. Even if you don't land on some islands, the danger will spread. Some islands can still be docked and you can leave when the time comes. Zhou Tu didn't think about these things. As long as the island was big enough, he could just come over. What was important was to develop the island's area. He chose the wild boar island because he liked the safflower trees on the island. As for the wild boars coming to the island, since the island is large now, they can just come and roam around. If your destructive power is not strong enough, you will only become a creature on my island if you go to the island. The medicinal garden is now surrounded by trees, and wild boars cannot enter except through a specific door. Zhou Tu thought of the robot island he had encountered before. Most of these robots operated according to the programs they set and did not take the initiative to attack. But if I attack these robot islands when the docking is about to leave and lure these robots over, and I have already left that sky, will the robots without instructions become ownerless robots? Is it possible to attract these robots as if they were monsters? The scariest thing is that these robots have their own action programming. Zhou Tu decided that if he encountered a low-level robot island in the future, he would give it a try, but he gave up the idea of a fighting against this large robot. A large island can accommodate mistakes, but it cannot accommodate mistakes that cannot be handled. These wild boars are mistakes that can be dealt with. Moreover, Zhou Tu felt that if he used the explosive attribute increase, he could definitely wrestle with the wild boar. Now that he already had the black bull, it would be okay to release some wild boars in. Select the direction, start the rotation function, Iceland will also rotate, and the biological area will move towards the wild boar island. A huge wild boar island appeared in his sight. On the island, he could see a lot of his second brothers standing on 4 legs on the opposite mountain to watch the situation. The 2 islands are connected together. There were birds flying on the surrounding islands, and some birds flying on the opposite side as well. Every time the islands were connected, there were birds flying back and forth on the islands. Some flew to the opposite island, but he would not wait for those birds when the time came. Some animals could only be passers-by on the islands, so he would not force them. Birds have strong mobility on the island, and Zhou Tu suddenly felt that the floating island also has the function of species exchange. Some wild boars have already rushed over. If there is a person sitting on them, it will be a wild boar rider. Can these wild boars be domesticated and used as soldiers? We have encountered Wild Boar Island. Be careful and try to stay in the mechanical area. Zhou Tu sent a message to Shen Qinghe and Li Yuro. He came to the sky above the magic area and said, Island Master Bisha, there seems to be something good on the opposite island. Bisha flew into the air and thought, this time it feels a bit like the yellow fruit tree at that time. Congratulations to the island owner, there will be another good plant on the island. Zhou Tu raised his eyebrows slightly. Bethia should have sensed that I have the ability to explore strange islands. But it's not a big problem, just keep it to yourself. He doesn't want to find out how Bataillon knew there were good plants on the other side. It's more conducive to communication if the secret is not revealed, and it's beneficial to both parties. But is there any connection between the yellow fruit tree and the red fruit tree? Chapter 119. What are the properties of the 2 different fruits? Leave that question behind, as the wild boar has landed on his island. Zhou Tu saw the wild boar coming to his island and confronting the black bull. The black bulls have become permanent animals on the island. They are the only ones on the land of the floating island. Now that these wild boars have come over, they are confronting the black bulls. This shows that there is indeed nothing wrong with the construction of the bioregion. When there are enough animals in the biological area, I will go to connect to other islands with dangerous animals. I can let the animals on these dangerous islands start fighting with the original animals first, and then I can just sit back and reap the benefits. If I'm a bit more ruthless, I can even use the biological area to collide with the opponent's mechanical area, causing a massacre, and then collect the remaining pieces. This is all possible. We will also release a large number of large and small animals onto the island in the future, including carnivores. The more animals a biome has, the stronger the defenses of the biome will be. If crocodiles can be hatched, they still have to go to the biological area. Zhou Tu was just about to go and take a look at the tiger. He had become unfamiliar with the tiger these days and Li Euro had been its keeper. The sky suddenly became windy. Zhou Tu was not too worried about Bataya. Bataya had already gone through a round of growth and was almost in peak condition every day. If he lost his way in the storm, he could only say that the elves were too inferior. Now when there is a wind on the island, you don't have to stay in the house. The island is surrounded by trees, which greatly reduces the wind disaster. Like the shelter belts along a desert highway, his island's shelter belts were even more lush, with the tallest trees having been grown to over 20 meters in height by the elves. Now it has no effect on the people on his island walking on it. Zhou Tu suddenly remembered that some people in the channel were blown off the floating island by the wind, and were still sending messages in the channel to pay attention to the wind disaster. To this brother, he could only say goodbye. But now the floating island is bigger, if you explore the island in the storm. Zhou Tu actually felt somewhat safe. Exploring the robot island during stormy weather will, in a sense, weaken the robots. The storm is an obstacle to the island owner, but it is also an obstacle to the monsters on other floating islands. If they were all obstacles, the island owner would not have much fighting power. But if something has combat power but cannot exert its strength, isn't that a weakening? Looking at the problem from a different perspective, I discovered that the typhoon that had been hindering the exploration of the island actually became a help when things developed to a certain stage. The sky is so interesting. Relativity is good too. Zhou Tu stared at his water circulation value. After a while, he was sure in his heart. At this moment, Zhang Yiwei is communicating with his niece, the storm is coming, what are you doing? Zhang Yunji, waiting for the storm to pass. You are so stupid. I asked you to find Zhou Tu. You are on the same channel. Can't you just find him during the storm? Zhang Yiwei was a little surprised when he saw Zhou Tu's theory. All I can say is that Zhou Tu is right. The typhoon hit area has weakened both the island owners and the unfamiliar islands. The island owner originally had no fighting power, but the fighting power of the stranger floating in the air was very great. Especially when you need to find someone, the wind disaster is like a veil and a protective wind wall. Such a strong wind can blow even a cannonball off its trajectory. The wind and sand are strong, and it is difficult to attack the monsters on the opposite side. Zhang Yunji was a little confused and sent, what? It's easy to find people in a typhoon? Uncle Zhang, did you send the wrong message? In the previous channel, many people were exploring during storms and were blown down by the wind. Various warnings were issued and everyone took a rest during storms. Uncle Zhang, are you really me? If you want me to die, don't do this. This is a bloody lesson for so many people in this channel. Zhang Yiwei watched his niece reply to the message. Zhou Tu was somewhat understanding. He told him that these were things that only high-level island owners would think about. These low-level island owners were worn down by life every day, so how could they possibly think about too many things? Even if you say this in the World Channel, it may not be taken seriously. Everyone says that we should not explore during storms. This is a lesson for human life. To go against the tide and insist on exploration is to cost people their lives. Isn't that stupidity? But as the island becomes bigger, it is indeed as Zhou Tu said, and they are all weakened, so naturally the island owner's island has more advantages. Finding someone during a storm is indeed a good choice. After all, as long as the islands meet, the coordinates of the other island owner's heart can be locked. No prompts, just don't go up. The danger of not exploring the island is greatly reduced. During a storm, monsters are unlikely to come out. As long as you stay on your island and don't move, even if monsters come out, they may not attack you. Of course, the prerequisite is that there is enough energy and you are willing to spend it. After all, just moving the floating island without exploring is a waste of money. Energy is precious. This situation is just right for my niece Zhang Yunji. Zhang Yiwei exclaimed, this Zhou Tu is really a genius, observing the sky so carefully. If his niece can make it to the island he passed by, he won't have to worry. His brother only has this one daughter, and if he finds her in the sky, he has to help. This is what Zhou Tu said. What? Zhou Tu said that we can explore the island in the sky during a storm. Zhang Yunji felt like she was crazy. The first person in the sky said that it is safe to explore the island during a storm. Before she could retort, Zhang Yiwei continued to send messages, hurry up and act. If you don't land on the island in the storm area, just control the movement of the floating island. Even if you encounter a monster island, you will be safe with the mud and sand blown by the storm as cover. It's just relativity. If it's inconvenient for you to explore, does that mean it's convenient for the monsters to attack you? So that's it. Zhang Yunji took a deep breath, I'm sorry, I wronged you, Uncle Zhang. I'm too stupid to understand the vision of the island master. It's not that you are too stupid, it's that you haven't reached that level yet, so you naturally won't think about these things. Don't waste your time, just explore quickly. If you are lucky you will meet it, if you are unlucky, forget it, you don't have that fate and there is nothing you can do. I feel like I'm lucky, said Zhang Yunji. Zhang Yunji still has confidence in her luck as she was able to encounter 10 floating islands in the sky without any monsters in a row. Zhang Yiwei, just be confident. If you really go up, think carefully about what to do. You will most likely be a veteran, while Zhou Tu is a young man full of vigor and vitality. That's all I have to say. You are also a female CEO in real life. I think you know how to weigh the pros and cons. Remember to delete the chat history. Once you are on the island, all messages you send will be under his watchful eyes. Zhang Yunji's hands froze. Alas, if you want to live well in the sky, you have to bow your head. But with my cool temperament, perfect face, and slender legs, I think it should be enough to make all men fall in love with me. Zhang Yunji held the Island Master Crystal in her hand and recited silently in her heart. Sky Island Enlightenment. Chapter 120. The storm was severe, and Zhou Tu went to the woods on the edge of the island to see if there were any wild boars on the island. The result is no. Wind and sand act as a shield for wild boars, and these animals are also very smart. Previously, a group of wild boars came to the island. There were 18 of them, 8 big ones and 10 small ones. If there are more people, you can try roasting piglets. Bataya had not returned during the storm, so Zhou Tu observed the sand brought by the storm and found that it did carry some moisture. If it weren't for the water cycle, an island functional system, he could only speculate. It is now basically certain that the next area will be the rainstorm disaster area. To feel the water content of the sand, you need to grab a handful of sand at the beginning and compare it carefully with the handful of sand you grab now. Only if you feel it carefully can you feel a slight difference. The island develops too fast. When the level is raised and the water cycle is turned on, you can see the water cycle. However, you also need to carefully connect these things together to reach this conclusion. I'm just going to warn these leaks in the channel, oh no, the island owner, to make preparations in advance. Otherwise, I am not innocent when the avalanche happens. Although Zhou Tu felt that he was capable of resisting the avalanche. But it is always good and valuable to have more people survive, and his consistent philosophy is to make the pie bigger. Some of the rare materials and blueprints that Shen King he exchanged were obtained from the owner of the small island. If the island owner is lucky and careful, he can find some special materials. When Shen King he used his identity to exchange for Didi, it was easily exchanged. The hidden benefits of fame in the channel. His name has brand value in the sky world. Zhou Tu edited in the world channel, the next disaster is likely to be a rainstorm. Everyone should take precautions against rain and drainage to prevent soil erosion. Edit and send. Although he was certain that the next area would be affected by the rainstorm, Zhou Tu did not say anything too final. After all, the Xia people always leave room for maneuver when speaking. As for whether to consider storing rainwater in heavy rain areas. This is something that only an island this large should consider storing water. Small islands should take good drainage measures to ensure that the soil in the island's rainstorm area is not lost. In the typhoon hit areas, the islands have become smaller because of the wind. If the rain hit areas are not taken seriously, the efficiency of water in carrying away soil can be dozens of times that of wind. The island had grown with great difficulty, but after several heavy rains, the floating island shrank dramatically. The island leader fainted in the sky. Send it. Whether they listen or not is their business. I am cutting leaks, but I have no regrets. Everything I do is for the leaks to thrive. Zhou Tu just revealed a piece of news in the channel, and the channel became hot. The world channel exploded. As a hero in the sky, many people in the channel look down on him, but more people admire him, otherwise he wouldn't have so many crazy fans. Those who looked down on Zhou Tu didn't care because they were far away and it was too difficult to meet him, but they took what Zhou Tu said very seriously. After all, there is real profit to be gained from these words, which can protect one's own interests or gain benefits from them. One word from heaven, thousands of words from the channel. I thought Tushan was going to announce the island owner's heart bonus, but I didn't expect it to be the next regional disaster forecast. Is this true? How did Zhou Tu predict this? How could the next area not be scorching hot with thunder and lightning? Is it true that the next area is a rainstorm area? I don't quite believe it. There is no sign at all. Why didn't the island master's heart give any hint? At €, what is your speculation based on? Are you sure? Don't try to attract attention. Chu Chuanmo, I won't say anything, just believe me and it'll be over. At €, look at me, I'm a fanatic fan, I want a shovel to dig the soil for my Tushan. Whether it is right or wrong, Tu Shen is willing to share his speculations. If you are skeptical, please check how high your level is first. I definitely believe it. Xiao Fi Yu, I just don't believe it, so what? Believe it or not, the boss doesn't need you to believe it. As expected by Zhou Tu, this caused a heated response in the world channel. Some people choose to believe it, some people choose not to believe it. This was all within his expectations. There are too many people on the world channel, and it's hard to please everyone. I don't do this just for people to agree with me. Zhou Tu has a calm mind. In fact, the purpose has been achieved. No matter what the next disaster is, as long as we see this news from him. There was a shadow in my heart. The reason is that his words carry enough weight, his status is high enough, and his score is ahead by a huge margin. The next question is the value of Tianyi. In the days to come, people will unconsciously recall what he said in his channel today, and then make some preparations to a greater or lesser extent. If it were in a fantasy world. This is called, the devil is planted in the heart of Tao. The purpose of warning people in the regional channel has been achieved. Revealing the type of natural disaster in the next area has aroused everyone's discussion. After all, it's a matter of survival. His friends also sent messages to confirm this matter. Tushan, is it true or false? Brother, how do we prevent soil erosion on the island? How did Tushan know that the next area was a rainstorm area? You are so generous. You have told me such important information. Only with people like you in the sky can the island owner have the motivation to move forward. The road is huge and powerful. Friends rarely questioned him that the next area was a rain-stricken area. As for his good friend who questioned him, he lowered his favorability towards this person. Most of his good friends were big island owners. A small number of them are just mediocre island owners. The island master should have his own thoughts instead of just questioning whatever he says. Believe it or not, I have no idea. Shen King he sent a message saying, someone among your friends asked whether the next area you mentioned in the channel is true or not. I want a definite reply. How do I reply? No need to reply, who do they think they are? Do I have to reply when they ask questions? What are their identities? What is my identity? Believe it or not. Shen King he, received. Shen King he could feel Zhou Tu was strong and domineering even through the island master's heart. Was this the value of Tianyi? With so many people asking her why, could she answer? She definitely couldn't. Sister, how did brother Zhou Tu know what the next area is? You ask me, I don't know. If I had known that I was still a small island owner. Li Yuro clenched her fists, although I don't know why brother Zhou Tu said the next disaster will be a rainstorm, but I think brother is right. There are still some people in these channels who don't believe in my brother. When the time comes and the soil is eroded and there is no place to stand, don't cry. Li Yuro already believed what Zhou Tu said unconditionally. Chapter 121. On the floating island ranked 68th on the heavenly ranking, several men were discussing the words Zhou Tu sent in the channel. The leading man had a scabbed scar on his face. The round black scab looked like a rotten toad tattooed on his face. How credible do you think Zhou Tu's words are? The big man next to him said in a rough tone, it feels like that. He should be a vain person. I have observed his speeches in the channel. Except for the first time he mentioned the anti-sand wall, the other words he said in the channel were all for the purpose of improving his reputation. The bonuses of the island owner's heart will be unlocked when we reach the required level. You want him to say that? It's really funny. When he was improving his reputation, he was also selling things like crazy in the trading channel. He is a pure businessman. Second brother is right. If we were on the same channel, I would really like to see how awesome his island is. An island with a score of 30 million should have a lot of good things on it. I asked him if he had confirmed the rain disaster area, and he would not say anything. The scarred man in the lead thought for a while and said, although Zhou Tu and we don't meet very often, we still have to take his words seriously. Without talking about Zhou Tu's purpose, the scarred man still wanted to hear Zhou Tu's opinion. Although he felt that Zhou Tu was a bit hypocritical, he did gain some benefits from what he said. Brother, what are you worried about? We are a predatory island. I saw some information in the channel before that Zhou Tu island is a plantation island. His worry does make sense, but what are we worried about? That's right. The floating island was upgraded and expanded with soil and stone. No matter how heavy the rain is, can it destroy such a large floating island? Just like this wind disaster, the wind disaster can only blow some soil and can't reduce the level by a few levels. No matter how strong the rain disaster is, there is a limit. We must maintain our advantage in the sky. Scarface felt that the suggestions from his two younger brothers made sense. He had established himself in the world by relying on his own fists. Second brother and third brother, you are right. We are a predatory island, not a developmental island. What we care about is whether our blade is sharp and whether our power is strong. Brother, you are right. Just maintain your advantage. We need to focus on our strengths. We can't just pave the island with stones because of what Zhou Tu said. The third brother laughed at the side. There are many things in the sky that increase attributes, which are most suitable for people like us who have just come out of prison. Personal heroism is the strongest. Let Zhou Tu develop. When he meets us, he will keep silent. Scarface was so excited by what his two younger brothers said, you are right, we will create the future with our own hands. Buy more of his attribute-enhancing potions. The second brother, you are wise. When our attributes increase, if the surrounding islands are not strong, we can give it a try. The third brother nodded and said, I'll teach those people a lesson. They went to the island one by one and acted arrogantly. This is not the real world. The docking world doesn't dig the soil properly, but it's rebelling. In the medicinal field, Bataya flew back. The wind and sand did not have much impact on Bataya. Island Master, I have accomplished my mission, said Bisha. Thanks for your hard work. Zhou Tu watched Bataya plant a safflower tree at one end of the medicinal field, but there were some flaws on the roots of the tree. The roots of the safflower fruit tree were dug by a wild boar, and the tree was injured. There are fruits on the tree now. I suggest that the island owner use his ability to increase the fertility of the land, otherwise these fruits may fall off. Zhou Tu fortified the land without much hesitation. The yellow fruit tree can be eaten in the afternoon, and then we will see how it adds to its own attributes. His first task was to increase the size of the island. How do you feel about the seeds that King He sent over before? Zhou Tu asked. There are still many seeds collected in the channel. According to Bataya's love for plants, these seeds should have been checked. Some seeds can be planted, but some seeds require special environments to grow. Bisha said with a smile, I feel that some seeds can increase the properties you mentioned. Zhou Tu's mind moved. It seemed that the seeds collected in the channel did have some benefits. The roles of the many island owners in the sky are reflected. The seeds collected were diverse and inadvertently promoted Bisha's evolution. Zhou Tu noticed the special circumstances Bisha mentioned. What are these special circumstances? Bataya brought Zhou Tu to the place where Iceland connected. At the junction, white frost had already formed on the ground. But there are a few plants growing here, so it doesn't have much impact. Zhou Tu, is this kind of environment called a special environment? The island owner is smart. Zhou Tu frowned slightly. This so-called special environment is still difficult to create. Elves are not omnipotent. For some plants to germinate and grow, it is not enough to just promote growth, but also requires a matching environment. Bisha continued, some plants like to grow in water, some like to grow in ice, and some like hot places. These plants that can grow in these places have special effects. Zhou Tu's heels itched, aren't you saying that the island is not big enough and there is no such terrain, so it is impossible to plant? Bataya denied it 3 times, I am not, I didn't, don't talk nonsense. The elf's words mean yes, after all, females' words are usually interpreted in reverse. In this case, it is necessary to create landforms such as icebergs, volcanoes, and large lakes on the island. Zhou Tu's face turned bitter. After all, the floating island was still not big enough. According to the disaster, the next area is the rain disaster area. If handled properly, it will not be a problem to build an empty island lake on the island. The thickness of the sky island is the radius of the island, so there is no need to worry about digging through it. There is a lake, and water lilies and aquatic medicinal herbs can be planted in this place. Returning to the medicine field, Zhou Tu strengthened another piece of exclusive land. Since the elves said it was a special environment, then the land with enhanced energy is also a special environment. This piece of land is for you to breed. Thank you, island owner. With the strengthened land and my help, the speed of seedling growth will reach an unparalleled speed. Zhou Tu nodded. The elves were devoted to developing the island, so he, as the island owner, had to support them. Many fist-sized pods have grown on the pea vines. Each pod contains a pea seed, which will be ejected once the pod explodes. With high-quality fields, the breeding speed will reach a terrifying speed. Zhou Tu plans to refresh his energy every day and come here to strengthen a piece of land to fully tap the potential of the elves. Bisha actually hinted at me, which means Bisha is not busy enough. First, get Bisha a piece of high-quality reinforced land and keep her busy. Strengthening the land is also an asset of the floating island. With Bataya, it is a win-win situation. Zhou Tu would never admit that he was plotting revenge, and everything he did was for rapid development. With the strengthening of the land and the blessing of the elves, a pea-sprout position can be formed in a few days. The offensive weapons in the magic area will soon be ready, and the small biological island can attempt to carry out fire. Coverage. Chapter 122. Since Bataya is so proactive, he should give her more responsibilities. With Bataya around, the development of the magic area will be much faster than that of his mechanical area. The development of the machinery area is a bit slow, which is equivalent to building a complete manufacturing industry. Without the 3D printing mechanism of the island owner's heart and the production blueprints of various items, it would be impossible to build a complete industry. Even if such a mechanism exists, you still need to collect blueprints, collect materials, spend energy, and assemble them. Each step is equivalent to a stuck point. The magic area seems a bit simple. Bataya is equivalent to an advanced soldier who can drive the rapid development of the magic area. Especially his skill of inducing childbirth, which is now far better than the island owner's heart. Bethia played an important role in the growth of trees on the island. Now the magic area has formed a man-eating big-mouthed flower defense, and the pea array is being prepared. I am in charge of the mechanical area and have developed a production line. There are wind turbines, and a series of other things in electronic equipment. Overall, the development is pretty good. Zhou Tu self-evaluated that he had developed well. At least it's developing and not stagnating. What gives him the most headache is the biological area, which is currently in a free-range state. He is in charge of the mechanical area, and Bethia is in charge of the magic area. They all have responsible persons, and they are all pretty good. However, the biological area can't even find a main person in charge, which is a bit backward. There are already many creatures on the island. As the island's area continues to expand, birds, beasts, bees, turtles, sea, land and air are all available. But from a global perspective, these animals are a mess and there is no order. The bioregion is also lacking a key leader. In a sense, I can also control animals. At level 220, I can consume energy to bring the animal's perspective and control the animal, but it's not very useful to command actions from one perspective at a time. The function of resident island organisms also has certain biological regional biases and can be seen as a means of dominating animals. But they all have great limitations. The complete bonus of the island owner's heart allows the island owner to develop in 3 directions, mechanical magic creatures. It provides a huge development ceiling, but these bonuses do not play a decisive role at present. The current focus is still on the magic area. Water is needed for development. Zhou Tu took a look at the water cycle on the island owner's heart. 178.2 The water circulation value is decreasing, proving that the elves are not being lazy, but there is another reason why it is decreasing so slowly, which is that the ice and snow are melting a little slowly, limiting the performance of the elves. Today he could tell at a glance that the elves had secretly evolved and their abilities had become stronger. Damn Bisha, she evolved secretly and left me behind. Zhou Tu opened the island owner's attribute panel and looked at his own panel. Island owner, Zhou Tu, age 24, strength, 7.5 endurance, 6.3 agility, 6.6 attractiveness, 8.3 observation, 10.2 The attributes on the panel have improved, it's already obvious. Honey, the meat with added properties is very useful. We have been in the sky world for too short a time, so it is good that we can increase the attributes of materials by eating. The attribute growth is slow, so you have to eat one bite at a time. After a while, the yellow fruit trees will mature and you can eat the yellow fruit. You can also add attributes to it. The number of items with added attributes on the island is also increasing. You can eat regularly and replenish your body frequently to quickly increase your attributes, instead of having to eat one meal and not the next. The main focus is on continuity. Zhou Tu looked at his attributes and was quite satisfied with them. As long as they continued to grow, both the area of a the island and the personal combat power of the island owner would increase. They will all top the entire sky. Explore the unknown sky, the more you know, the stronger you will be. Zhou Tu looked at the popsicle, and found an unknown creature inside. We can't always carry this ice island with us. We must make the ice melt quickly, and then we can exile it and capture new useful satellite islands. In addition to the huge amount of water resources, what Zhou Tu is most looking forward to is the creatures trapped in the ice. But how to melt such a huge ice block quickly? Zhou Tu frowned and thought about how to quickly melt the ice. You want heat, gasoline, diesel, or wood? After thinking for a long time, Zhou Tu planned to make some stainless steel wires with high resistance, alloys, wrap it around the bottom icicle, heat it with electricity, and then the ice can be melted without wasting resources. In this case, the current electricity is definitely not enough, and we need to build more wind turbines. How is the collection of wind turbine drawing materials going? Shen King, he said, you can make 4 wind turbines. After thinking about it, Zhou Tu gave up this method because the snow melted too slowly. We can build 4 wind turbines first to make the electricity more abundant. We will have to build production lines in the future, and there will always be insufficient electricity resources. Zhou Tu plans to use the information about the direction of the sky to solve the problem of the melting of such a large ice block. That is to drive the floating island directly to a place bordering a fire island. It took so much effort to find a solution, but the solution is in the message. We used to look for water islands, but now we should look for fire islands. Zhou Tu couldn't help but sigh. The volcanic island, which seemed to have no much use, can now be useful in some aspects. Information in the sky is almost equivalent to life. There are so many types of sky islands. Using different types of sky islands is a very good way to solve the troubles on your own sky island. When the area reaches this size, dense trees can intercept the sand brought by wind disasters and ensure that the sand on the island is not blown away. Day and night, blinding winds and disasters could not stop Zhou Tu from exploring the sky. Except for some islands where the monsters are too strong, all islands can be docked. The large area of an island means strong support for the island owner. I should be able to upgrade to level 600 after this sandstorm. I wonder what good abilities level 600 can bring. Zhou Tu calculated. Anyway, let's find a fire island and melt this creature out first. Being able to stay alive in the ice means that it must be a supernatural creature. Even if it is not as good as Bisha, it must have some other functions, right? Just as Zhou Tu activated the floating island, Shen King he sent a message, Zhou Tu, Xiaoro has been poisoned. Chapter 123. After being poisoned by mushrooms after tasting them, Li Yuro wanted to make mushroom soup, but as expected, something went wrong. They didn't eat much, did they? Wouldn't she feed the black cows with it for experiments? Zhou Tu asked. Shen King he said, it seems that I just took a bite and had an illusion. Now I am chewing wood. Zhou Tu secretly felt lucky that he didn't say anything at that time. If you eat it, you might get lost on the Sky Island. If you don't have a partner in the Sky Island world and eat some unknown food alone, other consequences may occur. Zhou Tu came to the woods and saw Li Yuro chewing on a tree, muttering, delicious, delicious. I was hallucinating. It's okay. Before, Yumenli was pushed by a pig, and now Li Yuro is gnawing at a tree. The first pharmacist on the island was poisoned at the first step. Zhou Tu made a judgment, it shouldn't be a big deal, it should be fine in a while. Li Yuro was carried back to the bed and tied up. Mushrooms can cause hallucinations, but Li Yuro has eaten a lot of food that increases properties since she came to the island, and her physique has improved, so she should be able to resist it. However, Li Yuro's testing of poison this time may not be a bad thing. If this kind of mushroom can be cultivated on a large scale, it can be used as a powerful means of poison attack when facing animal floating islands in the future. Even though these animals have high resistance to hallucinations, they are still very good as distractions. Every detour on the floating island can help the floating island move forward and is the island's trump card against monsters. When he came outside, Zhou Tu found that the wind had stopped. It was time to collect soil and upgrade the floating island. Zhou Tu flew a circle in the sky. With the water source, the vegetation on the floating island has grown luxuriantly. The sand-proof forest promised by the elves has now turned into rows of lush and dense green barriers standing on the island. Beneath the tree trunks, there is a pile of sand. Unlike before when the sand and soil gathered directly under the stone sand control wall, now it gathers under the trees. Standing high and looking far, you can see that the sand-proof forest on the floating island is like circles of green ripples, layer by layer, spreading outward. There is some soil accumulation under each concentric circle of sand-proof forest, which is more efficient than the previous sand-proof wall. The sand control forests spread outward layer by layer. To a certain extent, these sand control forests are witnesses of every huge upgrade. Zhou Tu also found small animals hidden inside, such as squirrels and pheasants. The island is becoming more and more abundant in resources and has more and more species. These animals are just byproducts of the island's growth. By then, if we plant more fruit-bearing trees on the island, the supplies will become more abundant and the recipes will become more complete. After flying a circle in the air, Zhou Tu finished collecting the soil. The amount of soil brought by the storm was about 3 million. The storm did not last long, but it still intercepted so much soil. Shen King he obtained 1.14 million tons of soil and 1.2 million tons of stone today, and is currently collecting further materials according to his instructions. A total of 4.14 million tons of soil, the stones obtained in the morning plus the remaining stones used before, the current total stone reserves are 1.46 million tons. Enough to upgrade. The current level of the island master's heart is 549, with energy, 68/559. The materials required for the next upgrade are 54,900 soil and 5,590 stone. Once you reach level 600, the amount of soil required to upgrade will surge to a staggering 60,000 units. Upgrade. Zhang Yunqi was on the floating island. She looked a little unhappy, and the storm had stopped. She did not stay in the storm for too long. Based on Zhang Yiwei's advice and Zhou Tu's words, she continued to explore. Just as his uncle said, Zhou Tu has a keen intuition about the sky. During a storm, he can skillfully move the floating island, making it difficult for monsters to get close even if they are rampant. The most common thing was that monsters came to her island for a while, and some creatures lingered on her island for a while. She hid in the cellar she dug and was not noticed too much by the monsters. He moved islands recklessly, visiting dozens of islands without encountering much danger. Zhou Tu is Tianyi, and he is not limited by the vision of these people in the channel. Practice makes perfect. Zhou Tu is indeed the reputation of a man in the shadow of a tree, and what he said is correct. Zhang Yunqi was moving in the sky, and she even met other people, but during the storm, these people only invited her to the island and had no intention of exploring. Whether it was ferocious monsters or ordinary island owners, their desire to attack and plunder was greatly reduced by this storm. There are less than 5 energy points left. Zhang Yunqi looked unhappy. Her island was level 35. She had been preparing since she entered the channel with Zhou Tu. She had 35 points of energy, and now she had almost used them up in order to find Zhou Tu's day. My luck has turned bad if I want to meet Zhou Tu. Under normal circumstances, I would never have been able to move the Sky Island so many times. Continue moving the island forward to the Monster Island. After docking, do not go up to explore and leave quickly. The remaining energy is 4 points. 3 o'clock 2 o'clock. Is it really true that I won't be able to meet Zhou Tu today? Zhang Yunqi's oval face was full of disappointment. She wanted Zhou Tu to come to her on his own initiative, but even her uncle Zhang Yiwei did not have enough influence to make Zhou Tu change his mind. He was not important enough. The last bit of energy. Which one should I choose? Zhang Yunqi took out a pen and said, leave it to luck. Before, she had always relied on her feeling to choose the direction of the Sky Island's movement, but now she wanted to leave it to the sky. Turn the pen, throw it into the sky, and choose the direction in which it lands. The cylindrical pen kept spinning in the air and then fell to the ground. Zhang Yunqi looked carefully and saw that the tip of the pen was stuck in the ground. I accept the choice of luck, so let's move it down. The floating island moved rapidly downwards. Zhang Yunqi stood at the edge of the island, holding onto the stone fence. These materials were traded by Zhang Yiwei, worth over 100,000 yuan. She had some hope in her heart. This was the last exploration, so she stood up and saw what was going on. If it wasn't successful, she would give up. An island appeared below. Circles of trees appeared on the island, and in the middle of the island there were rows of rooms, surrounded by circles of green. Zhang Yunqi was deeply shocked by the scene before her. The trees were evenly spaced apart, and some places had turned directly into a forest. Many animals were swimming leisurely on this floating island. This is not a strange floating island. Strange floating islands don't have such obvious signs of artificial carving. It must be a human floating island. As the distance got closer, she saw a man floating in the air. A familiar name suddenly popped into her mind, but she didn't have time to think about it. Suddenly, there was a huge movement on the island below, as if an invisible force was driving it, and the land outside the island expanded outward at an astonishing speed. Very fast. The island was being upgraded, and in a short while, Zhang Yunqi discovered that the area created was much larger than her own island. At this moment, the distance is getting closer. The island owner's heart sent a prompt, and the coordinates were communicated. This was indeed Zhou Tu's floating island. Zhang Yunqi's heart began to beat fast. The goddess of luck is still on my side, and I met Zhou Tu. Uncle, I encountered Zhou Tu's floating island. Chapter 124. After sending a message to Zhang Yiwei, Zhang Yunqi noticed that there was a small ice island nestled next to the Zhou Tu island. Previously, I was only focused on admiring the surrounding islands, but now I was surprised to realize that the white giant standing next to me was actually an Iceland. The most surprising thing was that the little Iceland was larger than her own island. The island next to Tianyi is bigger than my island. It should be the small island we encountered during the shuttle trip. Zhang Yunji speculated that this small island and the one Zhou Tu connected to should be the strange island Zhou Tu encountered. Zhang Yiwei couldn't wait to ask, how is Zhou Tu's floating island? He was very interested in Zhou Tu's floating island. He had seen many people guessing about the situation of Zhou Tu's island, but there was no useful information. As the second one who was left behind, he was eager to know what Zhang Yunji saw in Zhou Tu's floating island, to see the gap on the island. Zhang Yunji knew something about his island. Faced with the message from her uncle, Zhang Yunji didn't know how to respond to Zhang Yiwei for a moment. Just looking at the density of the plants, Zhang Yiwei's sky island cannot compare to it. Zhang Yiwei had told her before that his island had encountered a water island and had already started planting trees, but how could the trees he had just planted compare to the dense forest around him? However, knowing that Zhang Yiwei was not afraid of criticism, Zhang Yunji still told the truth. On the floating islands around us, some trees have grown to 20 to 30 meters high. And they form concentric circles of sand-proof tree walls. There is no need for any windbreaks at all. These trees can block the sand. Does this mean that Zhou Tu's current floating island no longer needs sand-retaining walls built of stone? Zhang Yiwei was very surprised. Zhou Tu no longer wanted the sand-retaining wall, but also exchanged it for a huge amount of stone. It seems that he was planning for future upgrades, which is really preparing for a rainy day. Yes, I also saw animals running, birds flying, and streams flowing on Zhou Tu Island. Moving down from above, Zhang Yunji could overlook the surrounding islands and could see some details quite clearly. If you encounter the surrounding islands from other places, the information you gain will naturally not be as much. Looking at the surrounding floating islands from a high place, it makes sense that 3,000 points far exceeds the scores of other islands. Obviously, the surrounding islands have initially formed an ecosystem. In comparison, those islands that are still struggling for basic living are far behind. It seems that there are also large animals such as tigers, black cattle, and wild boars. Is this too many large animals? The prey captured by Uncle Zhang made the entire organization cheer, and the livestock industry on the island around him was already thriving. The gap between the two was a world of difference. The Zhou Tu Island seems to be composed of 3 areas. 1/3 of the circular island is covered with dense forests and nothing can be seen. Many wind turbines have been built, so it doesn't seem like there is a shortage of electricity. I don't dare to go to his island now. The animals form a perfect protective barrier. Zhang Yunji sent everything she saw to Zhang Yiwei, letting Zhang Yiwei figure it out on his own. After arriving on the island, she felt that it would take a long time to gain Zhou Tu's trust. She also understood Zhang Yiwei's meaning, reporting the information and repaying the favor. Zhang Yiwei was stunned when he saw the message sent by his niece. He sent his niece there, with a little private thought in his mind, which was to spy on the real development situation of the surrounding islands to satisfy his curiosity. But now the information Zhang Yunji fed back made him feel a little defensive. Judging from these details, a simple biosphere has been formed on the surrounding islands, and even some single food chains have appeared. Why did his island develop so fast, when the tissues of tens of thousands of people developed in just one cycle? Uncle Zhang, do you have anything else to ask? I guess I will have to hand over the island owner's heart after I arrive on the island, so there won't be much opportunity for communication. There is nothing more to ask, just live a good life on the island around you. Zhang Yiwei sent his blessings. After learning about the situation on Zhou Tu Island, he finally gave up. The actual situation on Zhou Tu Island was much better than he expected. Zhou Tu's Sky Island can now be considered the most habitable island. I hope my niece can live well on it. Zhang Yunji couldn't help but wonder why Zhang Yiwei was so eager about Zhou Tu's island before, but now he seemed so indifferent. His words were full of curiosity, he just wanted to see the boss's basic situation. Now that these words were spoken, Zhang Yunji felt that Zhang Yiwei had lost interest in Zhou Tu's island. Is this what it means to lose interest after getting it? So, should I behave more dignified when I get to the island? Zhang Yunji was still thinking about how to face Zhou Tu when she saw a woman who was as beautiful as her walking towards her from a distance. It wasn't Zhou Tu who asked me to go to the island. Shen Qinghe came over and looked at Zhang Yunji. Hello, my name is Shen Qinghe, welcome to the island. Hello. Hello. Zhang Yunji said with a smile. It seemed that Zhou Tu didn't care who landed on the island. This is the stone resource I brought. Shen Qinghe took a look at the stones and thought to himself, Zhang Yiwei is very knowledgeable about the ways of the world. Whatever resources you have on your island, bring them up here. Zhou Tu was not too enthusiastic about other people going to the island. These people need to do something right away. The reason why he looked for someone was essentially to lighten his own burden. As Zhang Yiwei's niece, it is undoubtedly icing on the cake for him that Zhang Yunji can go to the island. He plans to keep her on the island as an additional resource. Although there is a possibility of leaking too much information to Zhang Yiwei, he doesn't care too much about it and just needs to maintain necessary vigilance. Even Zhang Yunji was not as important as Li Yuro in his heart. Instruct Shen Qinghe to go and deal with it, and at the same time establish Shen Qinghe's position on the island. The only person he was asked to welcome to the island was Yu Mengli. Shen Qinghe and Li Yuro were only there under special circumstances. The island area has been detected to be increasing. The current level of the island master's heart is 619, energy, 138/629. The materials required for the next upgrade are 61,900 soil and 6,290 stone. Zhou Tu looked at the new information about the island. The diameter of the island exceeded 629 meters. The area of a the island has reached 310,000 square meters. This area is about 1/5 of the area of a Daxing Airport. It would be best if I could reach level 1000 before entering the rain-stricken area and fulfill my promise to Bisha. Chapter 125. Zhou Tu still wanted to take responsibility for luring Butaya to the island. Of course, we will try our best to do what we promised. He never makes promises lightly, but once he does, he will do his best to fulfill it if conditions permit. At this upgrade rate, he felt that he could reach the level before entering the flood-stricken area. When you reach the edge of the island, the difficulty of upgrading becomes greater, but the area you gain also increases. The range of the elves' plants is the circumference of the island, which is constantly increasing. Bisha looked at Zhou Tu coming over, and her tone changed. Another woman was brought to the island. A woman who got in through the back door. Zhou Tu was a little puzzled as to why Butaya did not start by talking about the island's lack of water, but about bringing a woman to the island. Is it because too many people came and I have less time to spend with the elves? When the island was not growing, he was with the elves all day long and had physical contact with them. There are more people on the island now, and the elf will only sit on his shoulders when there is no one around. Zhou Tu discovered that the elves actually didn't like being with other people. Although Li Yuro always liked to go to the forest to play with Butaya, Butaya rarely looked for Shen Qinghe and Li Yuro. The first time I wanted to introduce a few people to each other, it was he who called them out. Zhou Tu planned to pay more attention to the elves and the special troops on the island in the future, and naturally he would give them care and cultivate deep feelings. Bisha flew past Zhou Tu and said in a light voice, as the island grows in size, water shortage is a problem that has always been present on our island. I am looking forward to the rain-affected areas you mentioned. Zhou Tu took a look at the water cycle value. After the upgrade, it was obviously lower. The island took Iceland's water cycle value into account, and it was only 93.3. In fact, this value was even lower. The water now is only enough for me to grow a circle of grass, said Bisha. Got it. Zhou Tu had already seen it when he came. The spring water became smaller, and only a mouthful of water gurgled out after a long time. The water-filling treasure on Iceland melted too slowly. Launch the island to explore, what else can I say? Zhou Tu looked into the distance. His first task was to find an island. If it was not a very valuable island, he would not even need to go there. Zhou Tu took some time to check out the bonuses gained by upgrading the island to level 600. The island area has been detected to have increased, the island owner's heart has exceeded level 600, the floating island's ability has increased, and a weak atmosphere has appeared. A weak atmosphere appeared, and Zhou Tu carefully felt the changes in the island. As the island owner, I can indeed sense some subtle changes. There is indeed a sense of self-circulation above the floating island. Previously, the biosphere cycle was started, and now a weak atmosphere has been born. In the future, the evaporation of water resources will be blocked by the atmosphere, and then these substances will be returned to the floating island. It's a good function. As the area of the Sky Island continues to increase, the atmosphere should become more and more effective until the Sky Island becomes a whole and forms a self-circulating system. The more supplies I grab outside, the stronger the floating island will become. I just took a quick look at the bonuses for levels 580 and 590. The island area has been detected to have increased, the island owner's heart has exceeded level 580, the floating island's ability has increased, the island owner's area plant growth bonus function has been enabled, the bonus area is 100 square meters, the bonus energy consumption is 50/s, and the bonus efficiency is 60%. The island area has been detected to have increased, the island owner's heart has broken through level 590, the floating island's capabilities have increased, the animal growth bonus function in the island owner's area has been enabled, the bonus area is 100 square meters, the bonus energy consumption is 50/s, and the bonus efficiency is 60%. This time the bonus energy consumption is reduced and the bonus efficiency is increased to 60%. Although the energy consumed is still a lot, the added area is very large, an area of a10. For current elves, they need to be spawned at specific targets, and it is difficult to cover such a wide range. Although the bonus is good, it still needs to be upgraded. The enhanced land is 1 square meter. The additional enhanced land in the future will be placed together, and the plants grown on these lands will be neatly arranged. Although these two bonuses increase slowly. But Zhou Tu never looked down on it. We can already see the speed at which the elves can grow crops on the enhanced land. When there is enough energy and with the cooperation of the elves, we can even grow some seeds into mature plants within a few minutes. Other bonuses increase the plant and animal mutation efficiency to 3%. Zhou Tu felt that this bonus was to increase the evolution rate of plants on the island, and the others were just ordinary bonuses, so Zhou Tu skipped them one by one. While searching for Fire Island, watch and chat. Zhang Yiwei sent a message, "Thank you Tushan for accepting my niece. I have already told her that she will listen to you. Zhou Tu, the island is short of people. She came at the right time. She is my wings. She is actually the president of a small business and has her own management skills. I hope Tushan can make use of her strengths." No. He understood Zhang Yiwei's meaning and took care of Zhang Yunji, but she was on his island and he could do whatever he wanted. There is no need for others to interfere with his decision. From the moment Zhang Yunji set foot on the island, he quietly deprived her of the authority to send and receive information through the island owner's heart. Zhang Yiwei, this old fox, must have given some instructions to Zhang Yunji when she came to the island. Zhang Yunji might be a spy, or she might be giving herself a way out, it's hard to say. For me, it's nothing. As for a woman who had just arrived, he would naturally not easily grant her the right to chat freely. It was already very good to allow her to see the chat content through the island owner's heart. Even after Li Euro was assessed, she still did not have the qualifications to chat. If the fact that there were elves were to be leaked out, killing Zhang Yunji would be of no use. Just ban people directly to prevent such things from happening. Of course, one must protect one's own trump card. The reason why Shen King he could chat was, firstly, because they were classmates and had a basis of trust, and secondly, this woman was selfish. On an island, she was like a grasshopper on a string, and she knew what to do. From the fact that Shen King he could point out that monopoly would increase prices, he knew that she was on the same page with him. Apart from the elves, Shen King he has the greatest power, so others must be treated differently. Zhang Yunji and Shen King he carried more than 100,000 stones and some materials to the island in backpacks and came to the house where they lived. When entering the second room, Zhang Yunji saw a loli with her limbs tied to the bed, unable to move. The little girl was shouting some incomprehensible words and waving her hands and feet. Zhang Yunji's face turned pale in an instant. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.